News Weekly. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Batman News Weekly. This is episode 133 in year 3, and this is probably the quietest week we've had in a long time. Literally, something just came out that we're about to talk about, and if this hadn't come out, I don't know what we'd be talking about this week. For real.
There and guys, we understand that. I think it was not last year, probably the year before that, like within our first year of doing the podcast, there was a lot of quiet days, but we still found a way to make a podcast be 2 hours long with just the comics alone. So you know us, we're probably gonna be long-winded on some of these discussion points, but I mean I feel like it's a good discussion. So I have some options for you when it comes to this discussion that I really want to talk to you about.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be fun.
Yeah, so Clay actually sent this, I'm talking about, fucking not even an hour ago. I don't know. What time is it right now? We're recording this at 3:26. He sent this at 2:43. So, yeah, not even an hour ago. According to comic book resources, Warner Brothers DCEU is rumored to be building towards Crisis on Infinite Earths event. I haven't read the article. Is there much to this, or
no? The article, comic book resources, their source on this is somebody that we've talked about a lot on this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
The head of Geeks Worldwide, well, not anymore. He actually stepped down earlier this month. Casey Walsh. He is a big insider for all things superhero in Hollywood. And he kind of said this, I think, about 2 or 3 days ago. And it's not really news, to be completely honest. And the reason why is, I don't know if you remember this, but this was teased at this year's Fandom.
Was it? Oh, with the Jim Lee art?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
It was the Jim Lee art behind, because of course they're in a green screen, they're in the volume, whatever you want to call it. They're in a giant green screen room, and him and oh shoot, I always forget her name. The host.
Lisa,
I
know who you're talking.
Or
yeah,
Liz.
I forget.
It's an L name.
Yeah, she was in Friends. I forget. She dated Ross for a while. You're talking about the black girl, right?
No. Not her. No. The one that was like the host of like the YouTube channel and everything else.
Oh, yeah, I know who you're talking about.
She was talking to Jim Lee during that section, and if you
Tiffany something, I think.
Yeah, Tiffany. That's it. Tiffany Smith. Tiffany Smith. Mm-hmm. So in the background, there was very clearly a homage to the Crisis on Infinite Earths famous cover by George Perez.
Yeah.
But this it was like a puzzle. So like all the parts were actually like scrambled around. But if you know that cover, you knew exactly what these pieces were.
Yeah.
And Jim Lee started talking and everything started to bleep, the sound muted, whatever. And then Tiffany was like, Jim, that was all something you weren't supposed to say. Like, we're supposed to reveal that later. And he's like, oh, well, we'll mess with it in post, joking around about it. This is teased before. And so the big thing now that I have, like, for you, as far as a question goes, how do they do this?
When I saw this, I was like, we haven't even got the Flash yet. And the Flash is supposed to reboot the DCEU, so why would you even think about planning this right now?
That's my question, because this, of course, the one thing that Casey does very well is he loves to just press the buttons on the Snyder Bros on Twitter. It's just something he loves to do. So of course he's egging these things on. He's wanting to get a rise out of these people. So this has been a big discussion ever since he, made it known again, like, hey, this is something that, WB and DC are planning. And I reached out to him. He hasn't responded yet, but he usually does. So I'm kind of just waiting. But he did say, well, Flash is going to be a reboot of the DCEU. there's probably not going to be a whole lot of characters that we've seen before in here anymore, and we're going into a new direction. So I retweeted him and I asked, I was like, okay, well, if Flash is the reboot, why Infinite Crisis? Like, why
Yeah.
Crisis on Infinite Earths? I mean,
Yeah.
because if you're seemingly trying to be like, okay, we're done with the past, let's go ahead and move forward, why would you need to? And then I joked around and I was like, well, considering what's been going on with Urza Miller lately,
Yeah.
maybe Flash is getting rid of Snyder's continuity, and Crisis on Infinite Earths is just getting rid of Urza.
I mean, well, that's the one thing that sucks about the reboot, right? Is that, like, yeah, you're getting rid of the Snyderverse, but you still have Gal, you still have Henry, you essentially have everybody except for Affleck and Cavill. And obviously, we were never going to see Cyborg again because nobody cared. But like, for the most part, Snyder, even though you want to get rid of Snyder, you still have his actors and his characters that were originally there. You know what I mean? So it's a soft reboot, as they would say, like James Gunn did with Suicide Squad. And I was all for it because, again, I mean, we've said it many times on this podcast. I fucking just reboot everything, just recast everybody at this point. I don't give a shit. You know what I mean?
That's all I would say.
But it wouldn't matter if you don't have somebody, if you don't have a long-term plan. If you don't have a long-term plan set in to do this, it doesn't matter what they're trying to do. And I don't think they should do Infinite Crisis if they don't have a long-term plan, like solidified. Like, we're going to do these movies and it's going to lead up to this, and then it's going to lead to this first big event, which is going to tease this event, and then we're going to do, the sequels of a lot of these movies, introduce a couple new characters, then it's going to lead to this event, and then we're going to do Infinite Crisis. You know what I mean? Because the thing is I think in our lifetime, I don't think it's that plausible. It could happen in the next 10 years. The DCEU is going to get completely rebooted with all new actors and everything.
Oh, yeah.
Because you can't... Because what do you do after Matt Reeves' universe is done and we still don't have a Batman? What do you do then? And that's going to be the point when they're like, let's just fucking do it all over again. And then if you blow your load with fucking Infinite Crisis before that happens, then what do you do? Like, what is the big event that happens after that? Zombies? Is it something else? Like, what do you do?
But see, I think Infinite Crisis, the Crisis on Infinite Earths, I always want to say Infinite Crisis.
Yeah.
But I think Crisis on Infinite Earths is that reboot. I legit think that we are getting a legit reboot in the next 5 years.
And I would be fine with that. Look at the track record at the moment. Everybody's kind of just bad. Is there one actor in there besides, I guess, Gal that doesn't have issues? Ray Fisher's never going to get off of the fucking Snyderverse controversy crap that's going on. Never going to happen. He'll be gray in the face until he lets it go, which that's fine. Everybody picks their thing in life that they want to do. That's going to be his. Ben Affleck is here, is not here. Ezra Miller, I don't take anything he says serious anymore because he's crazy. Yeah. He's crazy. So Ben Affleck, I'm just going to assume is gone, even though I wouldn't mind him coming back. Fucking Ezra's a psychopath. He's crazy.
You got Aquaman. You have Jason Momoa.
True, but he is going through a divorce right now, so anything could happen with that guy right now. You know what I mean? Like, look what happened to Ben going through his shit.
Gonna say, look what happened to Ben.
So, we'll talk about this later, but like, Will Smith should probably get a divorce. That might actually help him. Fucking, look at him. He's Deadshot. Fucking, look at that fucking guy.
And you say other than Gal, but Gal has had some controversy in the past also. Like, and I will say this, when it comes to being in the spotlight, especially in Hollywood, people are always going to try to find something on you.
Yeah.
Like, it's just the way Hollywood works, unfortunately. So, and I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing, but sometimes it is. So yeah, I think that as of right now, you should reboot. Like, you should totally. And there's some people that are like, fuck, they're just going to cancel the Flash movie. It's almost finished, and they're just going to fucking cancel it after the shit that's been happening to Urza. I actually have a friend that lives right next door to a VFX artist for the Flash.
Oh, really?
And he not sure if I'm supposed to say this, but I'm going to go ahead and say it anyway. I'm not going to say the parties' names or anything else.
Mm.
But the guy was like, "Hey, so if you are wanting to possibly see something, I might have something in the works in the next few weeks."
Oh, wow.
So I think they're working on a trailer or something. That would be kind of tight.
Yeah. So somebody on Twitter, because like obviously Ezra's been the biggest thing, which I guess we could hit on that if people haven't already heard. Ezra's apparently a psycho, was staying with, happened with two separate incidents, I guess in the same 24-hour period.
Yeah, within
He
the
was in
same
a karaoke bar, was yelling at people to get off the karaoke stage or some shit.
And
This
then
is
like
all paraphrasing.
and then hours before that, in the, I guess, Airbnb type of housing that he was staying at,
He was staying with friends, apparently, though.
it was
Like people that knew
friends.
him. Like, well, he was
Oh
staying with people
shit!
that knew him, apparently. I guess. And then he
Fuck.
came in and was all like, I'm going to kill you guys. Or like, he's called the wife a slut or something like that.
And he stole their wallet, passport, and shit. And I'm like, what
Why
the
does he
fuck?
need that? Like,
Don't
he has
know.
to be on hard drugs. He has to be.
Like, and also, I know that we're laughing and shit because it's fucking crazy. But
Yeah.
like, honestly, dude needs some help.
Yeah.
And when it comes to shit like this, like, it's better to separate yourself from the work that you're doing,
Yeah.
because these, I understand that actors like, oh, this is my therapy, this is blah blah. Like, apparently not. Like, it's getting really fucking complicated with the shit that you're doing
Yeah.
outside of this work. I think the freaking Homelander from The Boys basically went through the exact same thing just like a couple weeks ago in
Yeah, and,
Spain.
and and the reason why I say that he has to be on something hard, Ezra's been pretty open with like his kind of lifestyle. Like
Yeah.
he's very open to things. He's open with his sexuality. I
Mhm.
believe he's mentioned he's tried different types of drugs before. So that's why I say he's probably on something hard. Granted, we won't know that until it officially comes out. I mean,
Yeah.
the police report could say like, "Oh, this was in his system." That's if they tested him for anything like that. Usually, you only get that when somebody dies, unless they. I don't know what the rules are in Hawaii is where this happened apparently.
Yeah.
But it just seems like he's been going downhill a lot. And 9 out of 10 times, people in Hollywood, the reason for that is, substance
drugs.
abuse.
Yeah.
Look what just happened with the guy from the Foo Fighters, right? Apparently he had a bunch of drugs in his system when he died. So,
Fuck.
which is unfortunate. So, as what was going on with Ben, he was an alcoholic.
Mhm.
Ezra might be on something, and in these kind of situations, we hope that if they are on something, if something like that's going on, they get the help they need, step away from acting or whatever. But it's just, yeah, the DCEU needs to do something because like it sucks. It blows my mind that they have the best characters in the world. And I think this would go off of sales and merchandising and everything if you include this, and just notoriety, because everybody knows who Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman are. You know what I mean? You can't say that for all the Marvel characters. You could say that maybe in the last 5 to 10 years, but you couldn't say that before that. Before
Exactly.
that,
Yeah.
you could say that about the DC characters. And it's just so weird that they're not on the level or better than Marvel in movie terms. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
It's absolutely insane. And I think I said it. I said this is possibly the best thing that could happen,
Yeah.
because it gets DC and WB on the track that they're already attempting to be on,
Mm-hmm.
and it gives them an open slate. Now, I do hope that they give some of these newer actors like their time to shine,
Yeah.
that of a Batgirl, that of Blue Beetle, and other characters that are coming out in the next few years. I do hope that they get their time to shine, and then when this crisis happens, they solidify it to one universe just like they want, and they can either push it into separate mediums like HBO Max and theatrical, or do whatever. But it needs to freaking happen.
Yeah.
Like, don't get cold feet and just be like, oh, well, we are getting phone calls from these Snyder fans and it's really bothering us, so maybe we shouldn't. Like, no, just freaking do it. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but the opinions of people who are just sitting at their keyboards spamming, Snyderverse stuff, it's not going to do anything. It's not going to do anything for a giant corporation.
Yeah.
After they've already been fed. Like, that was the
And
thing, right?
that's unfortunate because, like, as much as Snyder fans do want to believe the good ones, because we know that there's a lot of bad ones, as much as the good ones want to sit there and be like, yeah, we did some cool stuff and I think we can do it again, I think we only focus on the bad ones. We don't talk about the good ones ever. It's very
Yeah.
rare.
It's very,
And
very rare.
yeah, and the thing is, I think the bad ones have gotten so bad to the point where the only way you can get rid of them, which they're never gonna die, but like the only way you can get rid of them is get rid of every single person tied to the Snyder Cut, and that's unfortunate because that means Henry Cavill is never coming back, and there's already been the rumors that he's never coming back. But if you were gonna do a crisis event, you have the classic, like he could come back for that. That makes sense.
And there is rumors right now for the Flash movie that Sasha Calle Supergirl is going to be, the prominent super family member, because it is said that Zod kills Cal as a baby on
Mm,
Krypton. So, like, in this new timeline or whatever.
yeah.
And then people are like, oh, well, that's probably on a different Earth. So we're still going to have Superman, blah, blah, blah. Like, you guys, I love Hope as much as anybody else does, but
Yeah.
just let things happen because it's all going to be rewritten anyway. Like,
Yeah. If you do not bring back Henry Cavill before this crisis event, do not somehow be like, he's our Superman going forward. And like, no, bitch, that doesn't make any sense. Like, don't do that. Like, if the Discovery people are going to come out of here, and if they are, as we hope, in control of the future, and they're like, okay, people love Henry Cavill. We are going to bring him back. He is going to be our Superman like he should have been this whole time. But we're still going to keep, what's her face? We're still going to keep Batgirl. We're going to keep all these people. But we're just going to make a solidified story. Then I'm okay with that. But do not do something where you're going to hold over some of these characters into the next, like, infinite universe or whatever. Like, whatever the hell they're planning. Just don't. Just erase it all so the Snyder fans have no hope. You have to fucking cut that shit off at the fucking neck and be like, there's nothing. There is nothing that ties to this. And you got to redesign Darkseid if you bring him back later. Anything that looks like Snyder, get it the fuck out of there. Because you can't do anything, because they will fucking find the tiniest crumb to give themselves hope. And it's insane.
Oh, Bruce Wayne's mother is Martha. The Snyderverse is restored.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Like, fucking, and the sad thing is, you essentially got to destroy every, like, team member in the production company too. Like, Ben can't be a producer, so and so can't be a producer. Like, you can't do anything like that because like, Ben Affleck was a producer on the new Batman.
And that's the thing also. Like, Zack Snyder's name has been attached to every single DCEU production.
Yeah.
And so because of that, he has his own production company. He has his own producing company, sorry. And, like, people just immediately like, oh, that's his logo. That's his logo. It's part of the DCEU. Like, I'm like, chill the fuck out, guys. Just, like, wait until we actually see shit happen. And I think with this, kind of wrapping it back into the story that we were, and of course this being a Batman related podcast, Casey Walsh says that the tease, because we are actually getting a tease of Crisis apparently in the Flashpoint movie.
Oh, really?
And the tease, he said, I'm not going to spoil it, but it does involve a Batman. So who do you think? Is it going to be Ben Affleck that is the tease, or do you think it's Keaton that is the tease to Crisis?
I mean, why? I mean, we already know Keaton's there, but I don't know. I mean, because if you're doing a Crisis event, then you could essentially tie in Pattinson's if you wanted to, right? Right? Reeves probably doesn't want anything to do with that, but it's a Crisis event.
You could.
Yeah.
You could. Now, the only if, this is a big if, because I think it was, let me actually look to see who said it here on our Discord. It was Red Hood that said, okay, I'm cool with this, but if this happens, don't plan it for 2024. Don't plan it for 2023. That is just 2 years away. There's not enough production of this new timeline
Yeah.
to show us that it's going to be worth this infinite, event, this crisis event.
Yeah.
So you plan it, you fight tooth and nail. If I'm WB, if I'm Discovery, you fight tooth and nail to pay whatever you have to keep everything hush hush, and you
Yeah.
start planning now. You go to Reeves and you say, "Hey, plan out your movies, start planning out the second one, and start making an outline for your third.
Yeah.
Let's put an ending on this because we want Pattinson to be shown in the crisis event.
Yeah.
Does he have to have lines? No, but could he? Probably. But we just want to show you that there is an actual multiverse out there. We want to
Yeah.
show you that this is going to be a crisis event. And I even said it in some other group chats that I was talking to today. Legends, as of right now, Legends of Tomorrow has doesn't have a renewal for its next season.
Yeah. That won't
You
me
want
either.
you want to go out on a bang, you need to renew it for one more season,
Mm-hmm.
have its craziness and do whatever, but Legends specifically tease another crisis. And for all those CW fans, you're like, we already had a crisis. What the hell are you talking about? And
Yeah.
it just lingers.
Yeah.
Because of course it's part of the multiverse. And then finally, when it finally comes out that there's legit production on Crisis of Infinite Earths, that's when all the things start to pop in your head. And you're like, oh shit, it's all connected.
Yeah. Yeah. It would be cool if they they got, no pun intended, they got the reboot treatment. You remember how Reboot ended the show? So Legends is in their spaceship and they're just like, what the fuck is that? And then the whole screen just goes fucking white. And then you're just like, well, what happened to the Legends? And then it's a fucking crisis event. That's the tease.
Yeah.
And you could do that with make it a limited series. Give them 6 episodes. Just give them 6 episodes to tell one final story.
Yeah.
And make it all serious. Don't give them goofy Legends bullshit. Just make it a serious 6-episode thing.
And you have introduced already some of the big players in timeline history for the DC universe. Yeah. You have Rip Hunter. He should come back to Arthur. I forgot his last name.
Arthur Double.
Yes.
That's the actor's name.
Yeah. To come back. You just introduced Booster Gold. It would legit make sense if you were to try to tease a crisis event there. But I'm even seeing the conversation on Discord now. Kid Stu was like, hey, this could possibly be your way to get rid of Ezra Miller. You can kill Barry and then introduce Wally West to be the new Flash.
So I threw this out on, I think in the Discord. I was going to tweet it, but then I realized, man, Twitter doesn't fucking matter. I just mindlessly post there every once in a while anyways. But I said, if they wanted to, if this Ezra Miller thing got really bad, and I believe it was you that said, I don't think they'd sign off on it, or somebody else said they wouldn't sign off on it. But you have the movie be exactly the way it is. Just the way it is. At the very end, you have Ezra Miller there doing whatever, and then he gets killed. He dies somehow, and you're like, what the fuck? It could be a bullet. I would assume a bullet would be better that he just doesn't expect. And it's Flashpoint Batman that kills him. You just get that one cameo of Flashpoint Batman, and they're like, what the fuck?
Jeffrey Dean Morgan just comes out of fucking nowhere.
Out of the shadows with a gun, and you're like, what the fuck? He's like, that wasn't the Flash. This is the Flash. And you have the new actor in the Flash suit show up, and he's like, hey, guys. And that ends the movie, so the next movie is telling us what the fuck happened.
See, I even told some other group messages. For those of you who have seen The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett, we all know that Lucasfilm and Disney hired a YouTuber who, quote unquote, fixed a deep fake that was on the season finale of The Mandalorian season 2. So
with the guy in the background?
No. So spoilers for The Mandalorian season 2. Do you care? Because I know
I don't give a shit.
Okay, so spoilers for The Mandalorian season 2. At the end of the season, Luke Skywalker, Mark Hamill, comes out and he's a badass with his green lightsaber fighting everybody. But when he lifts up his hood, it's a younger Luke Skywalker. And dude, it's PS2 graphics. is bad.
Oh, yeah.
But this random dude on YouTube was like, "Oh, I can make that even better." And
Hmm.
he like wowed people. It was millions of views like within the first week of that video. And then it became news that Disney and Lucasfilm hired him. And then
Yeah.
in the Book of Boba Fett, Luke Skywalker came back as a character,
Yeah.
and everybody
Spoilers for
noticed.
that, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean,
And then everybody noticed. They're like, "Oh shit, he doesn't look all PS2 like. They must have
yeah.
used that dude." And I was like, "See, this is what you need to do. If you legit don't want Urza to have the limelight for this Flashpoint movie anymore,
Yeah.
find a new actor, hire that same dude, and render the entire movie as a deepfake."
Yeah, you'd have to. I
You
mean,
you
I've
would
seen
have
some crazy deepfakes.
you would have to give Urza money to use his body, but you
Yeah.
just change his face.
Well, I mean, how did they do Zack Snyder's? Because they took out what's his face the whole movie.
Which one?
They took out Chris D'Elia.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if he got. I don't know if he probably got paid what he got paid to like actually
Yeah.
do the movie, but like after the residuals or whatever from Netflix, I'm sure they have deals like that.
Well, I'm just saying, like, was he CGI'd over or did they reshoot everything?
They reshot everything,
Oh, okay.
but they reshot everything with her in a green screen. She did not interact with any
Yeah,
other
yeah,
character.
yeah. I mean, that would be interesting. Yeah, that would be pretty crazy. You know, I will say going to this new format of spicy content and indulging in a lot of this, deepfakes are fucking crazy, dude. Like, they're people like, and I'm not even talking about like getting celebrities or anything, like, not even anything like that. Just what they have made. I'm gonna tell you right now, I've seen some Final Fantasy shit that looks real, and I'm just like, bruh, like what? And it's insane, dude. Like the stuff some people out here could do, Marvel has no excuse for looking as shitty as it does. Marvel has no fucking excuse. I haven't seen Moon Knight, but you were saying there was some pretty bad CGI in that.
Is some I would say it's in the top 10 if not top 5 worst CGI moments.
Worse than Iron Man 3? Was it Iron Man 3 or 2? That was really bad.
I think it was
Iron
Iron
Man 2, I
Man.
mean Iron Man 1 was fire. Like I don't know how they got away from that.
Yeah, Iron Man 1 was absolutely amazing, but I think Iron Man 2 was where they first introduced like everything CGI, and they
Yeah.
started working like with that like afterward. I think literally Iron Man 1 was the only time they used an actual suit.
Yeah.
Um,
It shows.
it definitely shows. But yeah, no, I would say it's even worse than those.
Damn. It just the trailers just don't look, it looks so overly CGI to me, and I just can't. And I think that's why even though I hate the direction DC is going in, I love stuff like Peacemaker and fucking Suicide Squad that's practical because it just shows how good it looks. And yeah, the overly, I just think I'm just so done with CGI. You know what I mean? Because I think if it's a video game, I could be in that universe because everything looks the same. But when you
Yeah.
have real people surrounded by shitty CGI, I'm just like, fuck. And this is the rumor of why Flash and everything got delayed, right? Because DC, praise them for this. They care about the way their shit looks.
Yes, and with the next few movies that are coming out, they are heavily fantastical. You have Aquaman, where you have to freaking CGI every strand of Jason Momoa's hair underwater. You have to, make sure there's a realistic amount of bubbles that are coming out of their mouths when they talk underwater.
Yeah.
Like it's going to be a while before that movie is done. Flash, you can only expect, okay, if they're gonna do stuff for this, Flash movie and make it look the best that it can be as the first Flash movie on the big screen,
Mm-hmm.
I want to see legitimate, good, like slowed down slash CGI running.
Yeah.
So we're gonna see how that goes. But my next question for you on this whole Crisis on Infinite Earths thing, because a friend of mine over at the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network said DC and WB don't have a Jon Favreau or Dave Filoni from Star Wars, or a
Yeah.
Kevin Feige and the Russo brothers for Marvel. So who does WB trust to do this giant, quite possibly the biggest DC event ever?
I don't know, man, because like again, I think I want to say it was last week that we had this conversation, right? Just because you love and know comic books doesn't mean you know how to make them happen on the big screen, right?
Yeah.
So I mean that's been kind of the slight at Jeff Johns, right? Some people are like, "Well, Jeff Johns was part of the first Green Lantern, and this, and that," and so you're just like, "Well, I mean, he's whether you love him or hate him, he's regarded as one of the best comic book writers currently, and even in the past. Like, he's just a great fucking writer, and." It's weird if you were to bring him into the movies and he's not able to get it done, then you're just like, well, who the fuck? Like, I mean, do we even know if Kevin Feige, was he a comic book nerd or was he just a businessman before this? Was he a comic book nerd? I don't know anything really about him.
So one of the biggest stories about Kevin Feige was his time as a producer before he got a hold of like Marvel Studios and everything else.
Mm,
One of his biggest stories was back when he was working with Fox and Bryan Singer.
yeah.
Bryan
Ugh.
Singer told Bryan Singer told the entire cast that they are not allowed to read comics while they're in their trailer or offset or whatever, because the character needs to be their own.
Yeah.
Kevin Feige was a producer on those films, and he would sneak comic books onto the trailers of each and every cast member
Hmm.
and be like, hey, these are like the top books for that of a Wolverine to Hugh Jackman. Or
Yeah.
Halle Berry be like, hey, these are really cool Storm stories. Like, hey,
Yeah.
here's this, here's that. Like, he was a big comic book nerd. So much so that it was kind of known also that Kevin Feige and Jeff Johns were good friends.
Hmm.
I don't know if they still are, but at some point they had a lot of communication between each other.
Yeah.
And we all know Jeff Johns, for the most part, was a really big comic book nerd before he worked at DC Comics in the first place.
Yeah. You know what? Like, it's, God, the thing that would suck is because then you'd have to deal with Ray Fisher for the rest of your life. But just be like, yo, we're rolling with Jeff Johns. Like, he's gonna plan out everything, because that way, at the end of the day, if it fucking sucks, you know it's his fault.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? That's what you have to go with at the end of the day. And I would just rather do that. Like, and this is just, I'm not including his past controversies or anything into this. I'm just saying, if we are trying to pick somebody that you think can do it, because I don't know how much power Jeff Johns has had, right? Because it's always been like Jeff Johns, Tony Emmerich or whatever, and Hamada. Like,
Yeah.
who's really in control? No, but when it comes to Feige, it's just Feige. There ain't anybody else you worry about. And so I would be like, look, Jeff Johns, plan out a whole movie universe. Like, just go spend the next couple months or whatever. All you're doing is planning out a universe and tell us how it works. Like, you don't need to write out every script for every movie, but you need to have the plot points of what's happening. And then we'll get people to write those scripts, and then we'll plan it all out. And it needs to go to a big event. Like, you need to drill it in his head. We want Marvel Endgame. That's what we want. We want MCU that big, that clean, that perfect, but DC. And you only make him do that. I mean, what else can he do in the comic world at this point, right? Like, he's done so much already. His legacy is solidified there. Me personally, if I was Jeff Johns, I'd be like, the next frontier is movies. But he hasn't got to do what he wants to do. We can't even get Green Lantern Corps off the ground right now. So it's just like, what the fuck? So I would take that on. Be like, let me do this. Let me be the Kevin Feige. I'm not a director or anything like that, but I can talk with you on who could be good directors or whatever, but I will plan out every single thing. Now, the problem with that is, if you do that, you're eliminating people like Matt Reeves, J.J. Abrams, all these kind of people to be directors, because their egos are like, nah, I want to do shit my way. Because, I mean, to be fair, they know if the movie ends up sucking, it's on them,
Mhm.
And I understand that. I totally get that. But, I mean, Marvel's been able to make it work. Because the thing is, you have those A-list directors, But those B to D list directors are like, I'll do whatever you want. What do you want me to fucking do? Like, because if those movies are hits, then they, I don't know what the word is, but they ride the wave to being an A-list director. You know what I mean? I fucking hate Thor 3, but look at what it did for freaking Taika. Like, he's done everything he does now. Everybody's like, oh my God, I thought the movie blew dick. Like, I hated that movie.
I hated Ragnarok. I hated Ragnarok. It was so stupid. But I will say, freaking, it wasn't him. That he was only a part of it. Freaking Free Guy, the director of Free Guy, he is doing. He did the Adam Project on Netflix, which is also an amazing movie starring Ryan Reynolds as well.
Yeah,
but he is now officially doing Deadpool 3.
Oh, nice.
So even him, like, he is not really a huge director.
Yeah.
But he's gotten to be, now he's going to be a part of that MCU machine, and he's going to ride that wave too, and he's probably going to see a lot bigger deals coming his way.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's just kind of what you got to do, right? And this isn't a slap on Taika, by the way. I think Taika outside of the MCU is pretty fire. I just fucking hated what he did with Thor. Like, that's just my thing there. Jojo Rabbit looks fucking amazing. I haven't seen it, but I hear great things about it. So, there's that. But yeah, man, so it's give or take, right? Like, if you have somebody like a Feige, you're going to give up, that, I guess, because it's very rare to have somebody in control of the whole thing and then somebody also be able to have artistic vision 100%. Like, it's give or take. Yeah. Like, you could probably work with somebody like James Gunn and be like, James, this is where we're leading to. We're getting to this. This is what needs to happen. In between that, we don't give a fuck as long as you're not stepping up on anybody's toes. But that's so hard because eventually you have to step on somebody's toes, right? Like, even like Tom King, right? When he was writing his, he says he was like, I don't like that because he hated when Snyder did it. Because Snyder would be like, nope, you can't do that. You can't do this. I'm doing this in my story, blah, blah. So Tom King has said, like, yeah, we've been under the Batman writer before, and it kind of sucks. But he didn't like doing that. So that's why kind of like Batgirl was all over the place. Nightwing was all over the place. But eventually, to progress his story, he had to shoot Nightwing in the head. And so that took out that writer at the time. Yeah. Who said they had an idea or whatever, blah, blah, blah.
Ben Percy, yeah.
Yeah. So it happens. Like, there's no way everybody can have creative control in a shared universe. It's just not possible. And personally, if I had to go off somebody right now, like if you had a gun to my head and you're like, who are you picking? And it can't be like a Jeff Johns, James Gunn. That's who I'm going with.
I knew you were going to say it.
Yeah. Because he's the only hope I've had this whole time.
I suggested this also, and people are saying that it probably wouldn't happen because of the MCU. Basically, he said he never wanted to direct the Avengers. So, people are saying if he never wanted to direct the Avengers, why would he want to direct the biggest crossover DC is ever going to have? And I said, you do it. And WB is seeing the success that James Gunn has over on their ship. So for me, if I'm WB, if I'm Discovery, I say, you know what, Gunn, I want you to make this, and this is what I need to happen. But when Crisis is over, you have free reign of whatever you want.
Yeah. Are you saying that he takes control after Crisis, or he could just do whatever the fuck he wants after Crisis?
Not control, because I don't think Gunn wants that. I don't think anybody wants that. David Sandberg.
I'll take it. Right
David Sandberg, director of the Shazam movies, recently came out and had a quote for I can't remember which trade it was, but he said, I never want to make a Superman movie. He said he never wants to make a Superman movie because no matter what you do with that character, everybody's going to hate it.
I mean, it's true.
Because people think that the only real Superman that has ever been on screen is Christopher Reeves. People think that the modern telling of Superman is amazing, while others think that it's too sad and boring and disgusting for the character of Superman. Like, there's just like so many wild takes about how, like, they're not wild takes. There are very narrow takes about how Superman should be, and
Yeah.
nobody lets these creators just create a story.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's kind of how we're, critical of Batman right now, right? Like, we're tired of, because there's been a lot of Superman movies. That's the thing. There's been a lot of Superman movies, and people don't really talk about that. So I wasn't like the biggest fan of Man of Steel. I didn't hate it, but like, I was like, oh, it was cool for what it was. It didn't like wow me as it wowed some people, but it was a breath of fresh air because that was the first time we saw Superman fight like a Superman. And I was like, that was fucking awesome. It was anime fighting, let's be real.
Yeah.
And I was just like, awesome. And so I thought that was cool. The action in Superman for once was really good. And so I enjoyed that aspect of it. But yeah, like with Batman, we've seen a realistic take. And that's probably why we were so bored with this. Like, give me something different. And granted, not everybody's going to like it, but I'd rather have something different. And I don't know, man. Like at this point, I think Superman, I don't know. I loved what Zack Snyder did with it, like action-wise, but I think people were just really didn't like the colors of it, and people wanted bright Superman, right? I think that's what everybody always wants, and everybody's always going to hark on, and maybe that's why everybody likes these realistic Batman bullshit, because they're like, oh yeah, he's got to be gritty. He's the only human, and he can't be too crazy, but he can eat C4 all day. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. I'm never going to let that go, by the way. If you're saying Juice, that's getting fucking old. I'm sorry. Don't tell Matt Reeves. Tell Matt Reeves.
Old.
Yeah, like shit. But you know what I mean? Like, and I could see that pressure of being, I think J.J. Abrams can do it, though. I think J.J. Abrams can make a good Superman movie.
I think if he starts off fresh, J.J. can make a good Superman. People very much see what he did with The Force Awakens and The Rise of Skywalker, and they don't like it. I liked Force Awakens. I didn't really like Rise of Skywalker, but I can see that he got what was handed to him, and he attempted to do the best that he could. So
that's hard, man. That's hard.
If you start off fresh, if you get this new universe that is post-crisis, again, you get to tell these characters, you get to tell these creators, hey, we're starting off a brand new universe. And honestly, I think what you should do with a brand new universe, with the way that kind of what Marvel did, Marvel made sure to let you know at the end of every movie, hey, these movies are connected. You should start off post-crisis DC movies. You should start a 5-movie deal with all different characters.
Yeah.
And you just come out with different characters. And you're like, okay, cool, these are awesome. But then you come out with the crossover and you don't show that they're connected. You are surprised that they are connected. I think that is a better way of going. Because then you can keep the solo movies on their own. You can have those tell their story. And then you can do the crossovers whenever.
Yeah.
Like they do in comics.
I totally get that. I just don't Who would you start? Who's the first movie? Let's say we're rebooting right now. Who's your first movie?
My first movie.
It has to be one of the Trinity, right? Like, or do you not go that route?
So
okay, is everybody already a hero in your universe?
I would say yes. That everybody's a hero. You don't do origin stories unless it's an absolute character you are confident in saying, hey, I don't think the general audience really knows who this character is. And there's plenty of characters like that. We've heard so many rumors of like, hey, maybe they want to do Animal Man. Maybe they want to do Swamp Thing. Maybe they want to do Plastic Man. Those characters you're going to have to share an origin story with, But that of like Justice League tier characters, I don't think you need an origin. You just need to throw a story out there.
You know what I would do if I had full creative control to make a movie? Even if it was like, let's say I'm making Batman and like say there's like 10 other Batman directors before me, like even including who already exists, right? Let's just add 10 random people, and I'm doing Batman. I would do the origin of Batman, but you do it in a trailer, and that's it. That's what you release first, is the origin of your Batman in a trailer. Because everybody's going to see that trailer, and then when they watch the movie, they already know it because they've seen the fucking trailer. So I don't understand why people don't use trailers as a way to tell part of the story. Like, make it more...
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Because Superman, right? Like, if we're introducing Superman to a new kid, a kid that doesn't know shit, but his dad's taking him to go watch Superman, right? Your kid. You're right. We're going to go over there. Your kid doesn't know how to fucking read, but this is okay for him to go watch. You can show him this little video of a trailer that's 2 to 3 minutes of how Superman became who he is. And you could have the thing crashing on Earth, the Kent's picking him up, raising him as a child, and then putting on the suit for the first time. And then you get the fucking movie where he's already Superman. Like, you could tell a story in 3 minutes. Like,
see, whatever happened to, because I know it used to be a thing, and I'm pretty sure you remember, what happened to... They weren't necessarily trailers, but they weren't necessarily teasers. They're kind of what you were saying. They were like story beats that weren't in the movie, but they drew your attention to, hey, this movie's coming out.
Doctor Who does that still. Or it hasn't done it with Jodie Whittaker, but it was doing it with Matt Smith. I don't know if Capaldi ever did one, but they had like these 10-minute episodes that they would throw out on either the BBC website or on YouTube, where it was like happening in between episodes.
Yes.
And it was mini adventures. Like, there was one where the TARDIS gets stuck within the TARDIS and they're in an infinite loop and they have to Amy goes through one and then she comes through the door, and like, it's really weird like that. They should do that for DC movies because nobody else does that.
No, nobody does. And we've been a big proponent for the use of social media, the use of big platforms like YouTube, TikTok, things like that. Now, would it be kind of crazy if you put in like $15,000 to make a TikTok video?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. But if you do something for that of YouTube, it generates revenue.
Yeah.
Then you're putting it like, okay, you're going to put it on YouTube for an exclusive amount of time. Then you get the green light. You can put it on cable. And then you can put it in, the 15 minutes before a movie. You can throw it in there also.
Yeah.
You can chop it up to then put it on a TikTok or a Instagram or a Facebook. You can do one whole video and then split it and do whatever. I mean, fuck, me and you, we're your video editor, I'm audio editor. Like, you can do so many different things in this new age of freaking technology in 2022 that it's not that hard. It really isn't.
People make fan-made trailers every single day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it is not hard. You could make a Superman teaser trailer with stock footage. I don't think you should do that, but you could.
Yeah.
And so, because here's the thing is you're giving the audience something new, right? It's a trailer. And then you don't have to show too much. You don't have to Batman the fuck out of this and show everything from the trailers. One of those trailers, that first trailer, is part of the story. Then the next trailer is like, wow. And then the last trailer.
And then you can put that in your special features when you release it for home release.
Yeah. And it's so weird that marketing has stayed stuck in the same perpetual fucking device this whole time and nobody tries anything new. And that's why they fucking blow up when like Deadpool did their viral marketing, right? And it's just like, oh yeah, and they're like, woo, and then everybody just tried to copy Deadpool. I'm like, dude, how are y'all so fucking lame when it comes to doing this shit? It makes no sense.
It's what bothers me, and again, I understand that things like TikTok are exactly what this is, but I hate when corporate giants try to follow the trend of other corporate giants.
Yeah.
Like you said, the whole Deadpool thing. The whole point of Deadpool was they were not going to make the movie.
Yeah.
And they needed to show that audiences wanted to see this movie.
Yeah.
How in the world are you going to try to convince me, a DC Comics fan, oh, we have to show as much Batman in these trailers because we're not entirely sure if people want to see Batman?
Yeah.
Come on. No.
I don't know, man. I will tell you though, I'm not defending DC or anything here, but I will say working with corporations sucks dick. I work with DC. I don't, if I get in trouble for this, ooh, big wow. But like they have to jump through fucking hoops, man. Like I have had some of my videos asked to be requested or redone, or they had to blur it out because I have Zoe Deschanel in the background of my room. And since she's part of New Girl, that's not a DC or WB property, so they don't want to get sued or anything because of this promotional video. So they have to blur it out. And so there's all these little fucking hoops of like, oh, it's got to go through somebody. So I assume the people that are approving this shit are not fans or they don't care or whatever. It has to go through so many channels that you get to people that are just like, they're just looking for shit that can get the company like in hot water.
Yeah.
They don't give a shit if it's good or whatever. They're just like, no, there's nothing. I think we can own everything here. Nothing like that's going to get us in trouble. And that's it. And so that's probably why a lot of the marketing sucks, is because you have to get it clarified and done so fast. Whereas I guess that's the benefit of being a YouTuber or benefit of being like somebody that isn't super big like that, because you can do whatever the fuck you want. And if anybody big comes after you, it's like, oh, look at big guy beating down on small guy. You know what I mean? And it just ruins their publicity or ruins their reputation. And it's like, fuck. Whereas big guy going after big guy, that ain't no problem. They got the money to fight each other with lawyers. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, yeah, it's fucking wild, man. It sucks, but I don't know, dude. DC, this Infinite Crisis to end this hour-long rant that we've been talking about, I just don't I don't understand why they would do it. I just don't. I don't know what's going on with the Flash, and why would you? I think we made points on why they could do it, but it doesn't make sense to me.
Right now, the very clear thing is it's going to be very interesting to see if they pull it off.
Yeah.
That's the big thing, because Red Hood does make a good point, and that was my whole question when I placed it on Twitter, is if the Flash is a reboot, why work so quickly for a Crisis on Infinite Earths? It just doesn't make any sense. But let's go ahead and jump into the only real news that we have this week, other than the whole Crisis on Infinite Earths, is that DC Universe Infinite is going global finally. Dude, I was looking at this article. This app released in 2018. That was 4 years ago.
I was at the Comic-Con when they launched this. It was awesome. Because what they did was there's like, I think it's the Hard Rock Cafe. There's a Hard Rock Cafe or Hard Rock Hotel or something right there, right by the convention center. And it has these weird stairs. And you would go up the weird stairs, and it's like this big open area where I guess they have parties and stuff. And what they did was it was all taken over. One of the areas had all the costumes for what we thought was going to be the amazing show Titans, which, oh man, I remember being hopeful back then. There was that. Then they had a Court of Owls maze, which was amazing. Like, they had people in there that looked like statues, but they were Court of Owls, and then they would fucking move, and you'd be like, oh, shit. And they had a scene from Titans as an escape room that had, like, the Robin, like, logo thrown in the fucking, like, punching bag and stuff. Like, they went all out for that. And I was like, this is fucking dope. And it was all just to launch this. Because remember, back in the day, it actually had content on it besides just comics.
Yeah.
So like, they were going hard with that.
Juice was actually on the launch trailer. Or were you in the launch trailer, or were you in it was something that Kevin Smith was doing.
It was like the promo thing. Yeah, I was actually in that, which is crazy. Yeah. So because they did like a live stream, and then they were like, all right, everybody that's working on this, we're gonna show you in the thing. And I was in it, which is pretty crazy. Yeah. But I know Kevin Smith. Look at that.
The app is available in Canada, Australia, and New Zealand as of right now, as listeners are listening to this podcast. In Brazil and Mexico, it will be available on. Well, sorry, no. It says here the UK is going to be available April 28th. Brazil and Mexico, it'll be available summer of 2022. So by the end of the summer, it should be widely available everywhere globally, which I mean, finally, because they promised that it was going to be global like within the next 2 years after it launched, and it has
Yeah.
been a full 4 years, and that's absolutely insane.
Yeah. Which is funny is now everybody's just waiting for HBO Max to be everywhere. So it doesn't really matter right now, which is funny. But again, it's one of those things. It's like, why is it so hard to get this kind of shit going? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it is what it is. Just kind of crazy. But if you guys have never subscribed to it, I don't know if they have like a free month or something like that. Give it a shot because you could read a shitload of comic books. I caught up on all that old Catwoman stuff. That was some of the best Catwoman stuff back in the day. And when, you know, was it? It was God, dude. It was COVID, right? That we didn't have like 2 months worth of content.
Yep.
Like new comics. We just were covering stuff on the DC universe.
Yeah, we covered Gotham Central.
Yeah, Gotham Central. I think we covered that one book. I forget what it was called. I think it was a Catwoman book where she was questioning killing people with a gun. It had something. It was by that guy. It was that Ethan Van Sky guy or whatever. It was his art, and we were like, we don't condone this guy, but this story is really good. Yeah. So like we covered shit like that, and yeah, it was pretty interesting. So highly suggest you check it out if you haven't, and if you're a big comic book person, definitely check it out if it's available in your country because you can read a lot. Like if you're sitting here like, man, these guys have all this knowledge. Fucking, you can be better than us if you just sit there and fucking read everything.
And that is something that I think a lot of people have said that is kind of not over Marvel Unlimited, but DC, when it first launched, was able to put a lot more content comics wise than even Marvel Unlimited had. Yeah. So I think that is pretty cool also. But yeah, you can make lists of stories that you want to read, like, and you can edit the name of those, like, quote unquote playlists or whatever. You can, I know a lot of friends that have done like a lead up to Crisis, post Crisis, New 52, Rebirth. Like they have categorized their own type of reading order, so that way they can just read however they want to read. So it's a very cool app. Currently, I am not subscribed to it currently. I have chosen to opt out just so that way I can subscribe to other things. But I know that they frequently go on sale for that subscription service. So if you would like to wait until that, just keep an eye on it. It's a really good app.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's all the info we got for that, ladies and gentlemen. But now we're going to be moving on to viewer questions, which I believe we have a few.
Yes, we have some on the YouTube channel and we have some in the Discord.
Yeah, let's talk about the YouTube ones first.
The very first one comes from Scott Lloyd. He says, my question for you guys is, who are some of your favorite Batman artists? Some of mine include Jason Fabok, Jim Lee, Tim Sale, Norman Brayfogle, and Graham Nolan. Interesting to hear what your favorites are. Also been listening to you guys for 2 years. Keep up the good work.
Nice. Shout out.
Yes. Thanks, Scott. Thanks for listening. We greatly appreciate it. So what about you? Who are some of your favorite Batman artists?
Jim Lee, hands down. One of the best. Clayman, obviously, if we're talking about more recent. A lot of people don't like him, but I do like Tim Sale. I actually enjoy his art when it goes with the story. You know what I mean? I think he's one of those artists that his type of art fits well with the story. So I enjoy Tim Sale. He was one of my favorites before I really even got into caring about art. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I mean, Fabok's pretty good. I mean, I don't know. I agree with Scott. Scott has listed a lot of them, but Jim Lee is my top number one Batman artist, I think. So
nice. I've been an advocate of his ever since I found out who he was when doing indie comics. Dan Mora is quite possibly my favorite right now. But some of my favorites, Brian Bolin is another good one. We also have, I will say Bruce Timm is also in there as well, just because of the animated series that's still technically drawn.
Yeah.
So put that in there. I am not a huge fan of Tim Sale, but I understand his big influence over some of the biggest stories of Batman as a whole. And then who was I looking at the other day? Oh yes, Jose Luis Garza Lopez. He is one of my favorites back from like the 80s and 90s, kind of going into like well, I think he started off maybe early 70s or late 70s into the 80s. Um, he was a very big artist who was usually attached to George Perez when he was writing, but he did a lot of the crossover stuff. He actually did alongside uh, George Perez was the crossover event for Marvel and DC, and then a recent one I was looking at is freaking oh shoot freaking Tom King, uh uh not Finch, although
Rorschach?
he no oh shit uh
Marquez?
no not
David Marquez?
oh
I don't
well
know who you're
Mark
thinking about.
no oh shit he also did a run on Wonder Woman that ended up being like super bad. um
Oh, I don't know.
shit oh shit
Oh, that guy that did like the super Nordic Wonder Woman. That guy?
yeah
I don't
no no
remember
no
his
no no
name.
no 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 not that dude. uh he was in Tom King's Batman. Mike, hold on. I'm starting to get it.
Yeah, I don't know who you're talking about. There was a
Mikhail
lot of people.
Mikhail Janin.
Oh, yeah, the main guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, Mikhail Janin is also a really good Batman artist. So those are some of my favorites.
Yeah.
Next one, let's see here. From Raphael, follower on Twitter as well as on YouTube. He is saying, "Great podcast. This may have already been answered, and I apologize if so. Who is the most underrated villain in the Batman Rogues Gallery, in your opinion?"
I would like to say Clayface, but a lot of people, and that's something we could talk about. The idea that everybody thinks they can get Clayface in the Batman universe, in the Batman. We didn't talk about that. That came out right after the podcast,
Oh,
which
that's
was
true.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, just to sum it up, you're not going to get Clayface. It makes no sense. Like,
Yeah.
he's too out there. How would you make a man that turns into clay real? You know what I mean? Makes no sense.
I'm hoping just another talking point about the whole Crisis on Infinite Earths talk. I really hope that after the crisis, everything gets a little bit more comic booky. That's
Yeah.
what I hope. That's my
Yeah.
biggest hope.
Yeah, I just don't think you can do Clayface in the Batman. Well, if it comes out more later, we'll elaborate on that. But that was something I totally forgot we could have talked about.
Yeah.
Anyways, I do think that Clayface is not underrated. I think he's just rated. Like, you know what I mean? I don't think he's overrated. I think he's just properly rated. I think he's gotten a lot of people like into him lately that are like think he's really cool. But most underrated, you can't pick any of the mains, so it has to be B-C list easily. I mean, would you say Croc is properly rated or is he underrated?
I think he's underrated.
Yeah,
because now I will say, out of all of the underrated, he is probably one of the more prominent, but he's not treated as a prominent character because we don't see him in a lot of big stories. We see him in the random stories that he's been in the last few years. And the greatest thing about that is because the people who tell those stories just get Killer Croc. They have really understood who he is as a character. And I somehow like those stories in the sense of like, maybe we shouldn't get him too often.
Yeah.
Because then he will start to turn into that character that's like, oh, you're running, quote unquote, running out of stories for him. You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I feel that. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've always thought Clock King could be a lot better. He was always one of my favorites in the animated series. And he's like super underrated in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know. I think I would go with Croc. I think Croc has had a lot of good stories, but people still kind of just don't really pay that much attention to him. But maybe that's a good thing, because maybe there are some people that shouldn't be that in the limelight. You know what I mean?
Oh shit!
But
So I am looking at the Batman fandom wiki page, and I typed in Batman Rogues Gallery. So the main primary antagonists have Bane, Clayface, Catwoman, Harley Quinn, the Joker, Killer Croc, Mad Hatter, Man Bat, Mister Freeze, Penguin, Poison Ivy, Ra's al Ghul, Riddler, Scarecrow, and Two Face. Those
oh
are the
wow,
main primary antagonists for Batman. Secondary rogues is Black Mask, Calendar Man, Clue Master,
oh okay, damn.
Deadshot, Deathstroke, Firefly, Great White Shark. When was the last time
What?
you read a story about Great White Shark?
He might have been in Tony Daniels' Batman run. So
Yeah,
still a long time ago.
Tony Daniels' Batman run was Detective in New 52.
Yeah.
No, no,
Damn.
no. Was it? Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's been a while. It's been
Yeah.
almost 10 years, if not 10 years already. Then you have Hugo Strange, Hush, uh, James Gordon Jr.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have Lincoln March, Zaz.
Whoa. Lincoln March is secondary. I think they're a little too much Scott Snyder freaking favoritism right there.
Wait. My underrated villain that I'm going to vote for, Professor Pig.
I would go with that, yeah.
Yeah, I think he needs. I think Professor Pig could have a legitimate arc, almost like that of a Bane, but not on
Mm-hmm.
a grand scale of like taking over the city, but like a murder mystery. I think he could legitimately do it.
Professor Pig, I guarantee you, if you put Professor Pig on the big screen, I think people would like him over the Joker.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
think so.
And I'm not saying that he would be more popular, but I think that a lot of people would come out of the movie and be like, dude, he's cooler than the Joker. And the reason why is every time there's a costume freak person that's crazy, people love him. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
People just love. And if he's wearing that pig mask and he's like, doing, because if you just get the right actor and they go around going like, oink, 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 like doing something weird like that before he kills somebody or when he's about to fight Batman, people would be like, that's so stupid, but also fucking creepy as fuck. Could you imagine somebody with a meat cleaver in the corner going oink oink oink, with a fucking head on and shit?
and then like when he screams, it's like actually like a pig squeal and shit. That
yeah,
would be
dude. If you did a
fucking
pig
crazy.
squeal like running at you, like holy shit. And then that's one of those things too where I know a lot of people are like, ugh, we hate that kind of story, like the damsel in distress or whatever. But if you had Professor Pig going after like beautiful women and like he like wanted to change them and he makes them like grotesque and shit, like that's a really good thing. It could be like beautiful men as well. It could be like the Gotham Elite, right? That's where you can introduce somebody like a Vicky Vale or all these other kind of people, which I think would be kind of cool.
So
Uh,
here's the definition of what this has as far as like the rogues, the primary, the secondary, whatever. Primary are characters consistently appearing as major antagonists and predominant members of the rogues gallery. Secondary rogues are secondary antagonists who are inconsistently featured in main lineups and or make frequent appearances but are of comparatively lesser status to that of the core members. And then
mhm.
there is a reoccurring rogues, antagonists noteworthy for reoccurring appearances or notable of some influential cult status, but who are not consistently featured prominent members of the rogues gallery. And that includes that of Catman, Bronze Tiger, Arkham Knight, Anarchy, Clock King, Copperhead, uh, Deacon Blackfire, uh, the El Flamingo, Doctor Death,
Yeah, El Flamingo dope.
Joker's daughter, KG Beast, Killer Moth. Man, do you remember that Killer Moth story that we were
That
fucking
Killer Moth
read?
story was so
It
good.
was so good. Mr. Bloom. Let's see here.
Lincoln Mark
Onomatopoeia.
is higher than Mr. Bloom.
Yeah.
Although Mr. Bloom didn't have a good Batman, but still, like Lincoln March does not deserve to be in B tier.
Dude, reoccurring, they have Roxy Rocket, Ratcatcher, and
Wow.
She-Bat.
Wow. You know what? If we ever do get that Patreon going, we could do an extra episode where we rank all of the Rogues Gallery. That would be some shit. Because that's a long podcast, I feel like.
Dude, this list is actually pretty long because then it jumps into alternate reality, interdimensional rogues, and all sorts of shit.
Okay, that's a little too much. Let's keep it grounded, guys. Let's keep it grounded, okay? All right, let's move on to the next question.
Next question. Let's see here if there's anything on the YouTube. Young did want to tell us. He also said it in the Discord. One of the like no gun rule moments in the Batman was the whole joking thing where they go into the orphanage that was Wayne Manor, and they were like I think Gordon pulled out his gun, and Batman was like, "No guns." He's like, "Oh no, that's your thing." You know, joking around about the no kill rule.
Sure.
Ivan Jr. says, "Great podcast as always." Quick question: favorite comic that is not DC or Marvel? Appreciate it.
I think we answered this last week, didn't we?
We did. It was more of like projects that aren't DC or Marvel.
Because I remember saying 100 Bullets, so that's why.
That's true. Yeah. We did answer. So
I'd go 100 Bullets. I think you said Power Rangers. Right?
I said Power Rangers and currently Radiant Black. So yeah.
So over on
it for the YouTube
Discord, we had a question asked before Clay's usual question section in Discord, and this was from Charlie. He says, "What would Batman do if he was in Will Smith's shoes?" For those of you that do not understand this reference, if you didn't see the Oscars because you don't give a shit about it or anything like that, I was not watching it until my sister came and told me, like, did you just see that Will Smith slapped Chris Rock live on the Oscars? And I was like, the hell? Then Discord was blowing up about it. I was over here editing a video, and I was like, what the hell's going on? I didn't continue watching. I just went on Twitter. I was like, Twitter will upload videos. So I was just watching Twitter. And yeah, I don't know how you felt about it, but when I saw the video and like his reaction afterwards and the way Chris Rock carried himself and the way Will Smith carried himself over the most generic, shitty ass fucking joke ever, and he got upset about that, I have zero respect for Will Smith anymore. I don't care that he was a Fresh Prince. I don't care about anything. I have zero respect for him.
Yeah, like apparently I'm on the wrong side of history when I say that like he shouldn't have done it. And like the using the defense of like, oh, I need to like keep I need to honor my family and
I'm sorry.
Protect Jada and all that shit. No, I'm sorry. Like
I don't think I would date a woman that couldn't take that joke. Like, you know what I mean?
Apparently there's new footage of Jada. Yeah. Apparently there's new footage of her laughing after he slapped Chris Rock. So I was
so she laughs at violence. I think Jada's an evil person. She just gives off she doesn't like. So again, I'm not big on like throwing around accusations or anything like that. But when I look at Jada and like, I just don't ever get a good vibe from her because
I think I
don't know what it is. I feel like that, and I feel like because Will Smith, like if we are going to start talking about like the psychological aspect of all this. I think he said that the reason why he did something like that, or why a lot of people feel like he did like that, because one of his biggest regrets, according to his book, I believe, is that he never defended his mom, because I guess his mom used to be abused and stuff like that.
Abby was talking about this earlier today.
Okay.
Yeah. She was saying, like, why would anybody, like, still be, like, for one, she has never had to deal with that kind of physical violence and trauma. So I was like, okay, well, before you say anything, just remember, like, maybe he did go through that. Okay. Yeah. That may be true. But one thing that I said about it is, like, one thing that you always see whenever a video pops up on YouTube or like something on his Instagram or TikTok is like all these things about like making life greater and better and like facing your
he's very positive.
And all of this. Very, very positive. And I'm like, but you have yet to confront that trauma that you are basically blaming this on. Like, I think that's bullshit.
My brother made a crazy point. He was like, Will Smith must feel like he has all the success in the world, right? He's even joked that he's went to the remote parts of the world that people probably don't even have TVs, and they're like, Big Willie. And he's like, what the fuck? Like, he's said that. Like, he's just known around the world. And he's had all the success in the world. And this, I know a lot of people are like, oh, don't bring race into this. But the success he's had as a black man is fucking phenomenal.
It's phenomenal.
It's insane. And everybody would be like, holy shit. And he is like the beacon of Hollywood. He is like Mr. Hollywood. Like, if Will Smith is a part of something, people are watching. You know what I mean? Yeah. And my brother made the point. He was like, if his main goal in life is to be a family man and have everything, it must tear him up inside that he's successful everywhere else in the world, but his family's a wreck. Because his parents are out there. They're like they're like, some of his kids are kind of out there, right? Like Jaden is not like he's weird. And like from society standards, he might be a cool fucking dude, but he's weird on his socials and shit.
Yeah.
His daughter fell off the face of the earth. I don't know what happened to her.
I don't know what's going on with her. Yeah.
And then he has like the non-Smith kid that never shows up anywhere. There's like a third one that people don't know about.
Oh yeah, that's
true. What I mean? And like people are like, well, what's wrong? Like, why doesn't he show up? What's with him? Will never talks about him. Like, what's the deal with that? And then his wife's over here talking about sleeping with all these dudes. Now, granted, I'm totally open to people being in open marriages or whatever you want, but she had that interview talking about it where Will was physically upset about her talking about this stuff. And she was just like, well, entanglements and all this stuff. Like, if she's over here expecting him to defend her honor and shit, why wasn't she backing him up during that interview? Like, the dude was literally crying. Like, he's a meme because of that. Everybody's been shitting on Will Smith since that interview came out. And she's over here talking about it's time to heal and all this bullshit. Your family apparently has a lot of healing to do because publicly, y'all don't look the best. Like, I'm sorry. And just the optics, because that's all we have to go off of, right? We don't know these people personally. But from the optics, Will laughed at the joke. It looks like he looks over at Jada, who is pissed.
Yeah.
She is pissed. She's like, you better go fucking do something, Will. He gets up, goes and slaps a man that is way smaller than he is. Because I don't think if anybody else makes that joke, that's Will Smith. Like, if somebody said if The Rock did that.
Yeah, I think
you said that. If The Rock did that or Jason Momoa said that, Will Smith ain't getting out of his damn chair. He ain't getting out of his damn chair because he's going to get rocked by somebody else.
Yeah.
But Chris Rock, which this makes Will even worse looking now, is I didn't know about all of Chris Rock's trauma. Have you seen anything he goes through? So he used to get beat and bullied and picked on a lot when he was younger. And he's even
probably
said that
why
there
they
was
made the show Everybody Hates Chris.
Yeah. Well, he also said that there was molestation kind of things might have been happening when he was younger. He said he used to go to therapy 7 hours a week. So that's an hour a day if he wasn't doing big sessions. You know what I mean? So Chris has had stuff. So now it looks like Will Smith just bullied a guy who's had a history of bullying. Yeah. And Chris Rock has talked about how he tells jokes to help him through that.
Yeah.
And it's another reason why I tell people when it comes to comedy, nothing's off the table because you don't know what people have went through.
And that's the big thing for me is my big thing was, when was the last time Ricky Gervais got slapped for anything that he said?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And when has he ever held back? And
he's cuts deep.
Deep. He will go for the worst thing a human being can possibly say. He's like, I'm going to say that on national television. Yeah. That's what I'm going to do. Yeah. And he does it. And you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But nobody does shit. Now, of course, you can say, everybody is probably going to say, oh, well, he's a white dude.
Yeah.
But again, there is a huge conflict on Twitter. It still is. Of, okay, this is a black thing. Okay, it is. I'm not going to argue against that.
Yeah.
But the thing is, when it comes to Chris and it comes to Will, there has been a lot of conflicting information on whether Chris knew about her condition or not or whatnot. And what you just said, the whole thing about nothing is off the table. I think it was John Leguizamo was interviewed almost immediately after the ceremony. And he was like, yeah, that didn't look good. It's just a really bad taste in my mouth after what Will did and everything else. And you just need to understand that you have to laugh at yourself, because if you can't laugh at yourself, what the hell? Like,
and that was the big thing, right? Like, did you see, I forget the comedian's name, but the podcast is called Flagrant 2. He went in on them for like 5 minutes straight, like calling Will Smith gay and all this kind of stuff, like going like hard, dude. He was talking about how like the shiniest star in the night was like Jada's head, and like going off. Like, he was just going at him hardcore because like Tom Segura, who's a really big comedian too, went off on Will Smith. He was calling him a bitch, and like he went off on Twitter, and then he went on the Pat McAfee show and was talking all this shit about Will Smith too. He was like, nah, dude, like you came for the comedy community. Like, because now what Will Smith did was, we already live in a crazy time when it comes to politics, and comedy is supposed to be the thing where you get away and you have fun with this, right? But what happens now when, let's just say, you make a Trump joke and a patriot has an issue with it? They going to go up on stage? We know a lot of patriots don't, they don't necessarily travel by themselves.
I think I saw a post on Twitter today that like on a stand-up comedy bar, they had a piece of paper taped to their window basically saying like, you do not have the right to do this.
Yeah.
And they have like the meme of like Chris getting slapped and shit.
Yeah.
But they made it like an official thing. Like, hey,
yeah, no.
just like this is an establishment. You do not have the right to have your feelings hurt and then assault our comedians.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Like, the biggest thing Will and Jada could have done was got up and left. Because, now granted, he wanted his limelight. He knew he was going to win that Oscar. Mm-hmm. And he was like, I want to give my speech, which I don't give a fuck about anything he said in that speech. I made the quote on Twitter yesterday that Heath Ledger's acceptance speech had more impact than fucking Will Smith's, and he's dead. He didn't even get to do it. So, like, that's the thing.
Saw that. I was like, should I retweet? Or should I retweet?
It's true, though. It's true. Like, because nobody is ever going to remember Will Smith for his speech. Because it was bullshit. Like,
it was bullshit. He was like crying. He's like, I'm not crying because I'm emotional over what I did. It's just like, and he was spilling all of this bullshit. And then he had the fucking nerve, which this got me, he's like, life imitates art.
Yeah.
And he was like, just like Vanessa and what's her sister's name?
Venus and Serena?
Yeah, Venus and Serena, sorry. Just like their dad was crazy, now I look crazy. And they were there at the ceremony.
Yeah, let's just shit on the dad. Like, what the hell?
I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you, Will?
Yeah.
Like, don't bring them into this.
Yeah.
The whole slap was not even over the fucking movie. It was over a joke that you couldn't fucking handle.
I forgot what actress. I believe it was an actress. She was all like, when he was all like, love makes you do crazy things. They were like, oh yeah, every woman that's ever been hit has heard
I posted that
I'm like,
in Discord. And I was like, oh,
I was like,
shit.
Fuck. It was wild, man. It was wild. We had different takes. I mean, there was different takes in the Discord for sure, which is always the thing. I just, at the moment, have no interest or to watch anything Will Smith does. Like, even Fresh Prince, which I love, I don't give a shit about watching it.
I was just about to say, I was really excited to watch the sequel to I Am Legend that is in the works currently with Will Smith.
Yeah.
Because if anybody has seen that movie, there is a deleted scene that makes it to where there can be a sequel with Will Smith. And I was like, cool, then that's going to be like continuity. They're going to do this whole thing. That's really cool. Can't wait to see it. I don't care anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, I just really don't give a shit, man. It just looks so bad. And even Chris Rock had his first, as we're recording this, he had his first show last night. And everybody was all like, everybody was chanting. He was like, look, I'm just going to address the elephant in the room. How was your weekend? Like, you know what I mean? He was like, everybody knows what happened. He was like, if you came here expecting jokes about that, he was like, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm still processing that shit. He was all, at some point I will address it. It will be serious and it will be funny. And then he was like, but I got jokes planned for tonight. And then he went into his set or whatever. Yeah. So, which is smart business wise, because you want to drag this on. Because now all his shows are going to be sold out, because they're like, is he going to talk about it at any moment during any of these shows? You want to be there. You know what I mean? It's like when it's to equate this to something else like wrestling. When you hear another wrestler's jumping to another promotion, you're like, he might debut tonight. Like, I got to be at that show. Like, it's been known for a while now, but like this Saturday is WrestleMania. Stone Cold is going to be there, and it's apparently going to be a fight. he hasn't fought in 19 years. So people are like, oh shit, I have to buy a ticket to Saturday. And it's just like, wild. So it's crazy. And like, I think that's what's happening with Chris Rock here. I'm hoping that Chris Rock takes his time to process this, but somebody mentioned I would sue Will Smith because that photo will be on the internet forever. It ruins your reputation. I would sue Will Smith for that photo. And I'd be like, yeah, I would do the same thing. I'm gonna hurt his pockets for sure.
And Chris has said that he's not gonna press any charges or anything else. But like, he could change his mind. He can be like, fuck this.
Yeah, there's not a statute of limitations, right? Like, he didn't do it that time. I'm pretty sure he can do it whenever he wants. Like you have everybody saw it. So like, nobody is going to be like, oh no, that didn't happen. Like, no, it's fucking there.
Are you sure that happened? You know? Yeah. No. But to take it back to the actual fucking question, what would Batman do in Will Smith's shoes? Batman would wait until that individual got his just desserts, I feel like. Like, if it was in the sense of like Bruce Wayne, if they were to say something about like that of a Selena Kyle, I am pretty sure he would wait for his just desserts, whether it be like Joker coming in and crashing the Oscars, and then like him having the open opportunity to accidentally hit him, you know, it would have probably happened.
Well, I mean, if we were to equate this to actual real stories, but I mean, it's hard to say Bruce Wayne and Batman. Batman, we saw with Tom King's story, he fought that guy in the MMA, right? That guy that was like, I'll fight Batman for $100 million or whatever the fuck he was doing. And Batman was like, all right, well, he got away with, you know, X amount of sexual assault cases. So this is the only legally way that I can, you know, show him justice. And then he beats his shit in the octagon. So that's something Batman would do in the comic books. But if Bruce Wayne or Batman was Will Smith, Batman ain't a bitch. So he's not going to get offended by this joke. So, you know, there you go. Like, you know, Will Smith is a bitch. That's all I'm going to say. Like, he's just a bitch. And I don't care about him. I don't give a fuck that he's Fresh Prince. What he did was fucking stupid. People are going to be like, oh, you're taking it a little too serious, Juice. You don't assault people, man. I'm sorry. I don't give a fuck if you think that's soft or not. You don't assault somebody for a shitty G.I. Jane joke. Like, it was the shitty... It's not a good joke. Everybody would be like, that's kind of lame, Chris. Like,
I laughed because we are probably the last generation that understands it.
Yeah. I agree. I'm pretty sure those people in the Discord that had to look up G.I. Jane. Like, I don't get it. Like, G.I. Joe, you mean? I think he said it wrong. Like, no, it's fucking movie.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Anybody that shaves their head gets compared to G.I. Jane. Like, it's G.I. Jane or Bruce Willis because they were married. Like, that's literally, oh, you got the Bruce Willis cut? Like, guys get the Bruce Willis comment. Women get the fucking G.I. Jane comment. And, yeah, I don't know, man. I feel like we can go on for that for hours because there's so much to unpack with just Jada's shit. Like, you know what I mean? And it's also, did you see the clip of her saying, like, I don't give a fuck what people think about my bald head? Yeah. Apparently you do. You do. There's just so much shit. Anyways,
Batman is next. Is saying, my question is, do you think adding Stephanie Brown to the Gotham Knights show will save the show, or would it pique your interest? This is technically something else we could have talked about because Stephanie Brown has been casted in the Gotham Knights TV show. We did not talk about that. Mainly because we are not interested in the Gotham Knights TV show on the CW. But that kind of answers the question, Batman. I'm glad that she is becoming a character that is getting in more pieces of media, whether you know, not just comic books. So that's cool, but it doesn't pique my. I told people in my other group chats, no amount of superheroes can join the cast of Gotham Knights to get me to watch it.
Yeah, no, man, I just don't. I have no interest. Although it's funny, Stephanie Brown's been a topic lately, but I'm always going back and forth with John on Discord because he hates Damian, like with the burning fucking passion. And so I've been joking around, like, hey, do you see Deathstroke #7? I was like, it's gonna be your favorite issue of all time.
Oh, that was so good.
And we were talking about it today. He's like, oh, he's the worst because this and that. He's like, entitlement and all this bullshit. But I always come back with the joke of like, he's not. Like, Damian, you can say all that stuff, but he's not worse than Tim Drake. And I always say Tim Drake's the most boring Robin. And I've said that a million times on this podcast. And now my new thing is that Stephanie Brown is a more exciting Robin than Tim Drake. Because she has a
God
more exciting
damn.
story. She does.
She dies.
Huh? She has a more
She
exciting
dies.
story. Well, because like let me just put this out there, right? Because
Oh,
everything
shit.
Tim Drake like that they've tried to do with him to make him an exciting Robin has been done by every other Robin. His parents, depending on when you read it, have been alive or dead. That already happened to freaking Dick Grayson. So you can't, if you don't do it first, it doesn't matter. And then we know that Jason Todd was a carbon copy of freaking Dick Grayson, and then he got voted to die. That story is always going to be good. He literally got voted to get killed off. He died and he came back as a Red Hood. Again, already a better story. Then you have Tim Drake. We actually had this discussion on the podcast before about the idea of him discovering Batman. I'm not a big fan of it because the way it plays out, I don't think it's that believable. But you can, if you love that about him, that's awesome. But Stephanie Brown automatically, Damian is the son of Batman, which is John's biggest thing. So that's just automatically repels him to being interesting. But Stephanie Brown is the only Robin to ever be fired and then cause a big, massive event trying to get Batman's trust back. And when she does it, she ends up dying. That is such a more interesting story than anything Tim Drake has done, to the point where they had to make this guy buy to make him interesting. He has not been interesting since Tynan has wrote him. He's a UPS worker now. Like, come on. And that is my rant of the week.
Retcon. That has been retcon. Well, not retcon. It has been. It has been. He took his name back. That's what it is.
Yeah.
He took his name back, and he's trying to get people to forget when he was Drake. But also, El Batman in the Discord did a shout out to DC Alliance. Thank you for listening. Really appreciate that. Next question is from Ethan. Young is the next question. He says, my question for this week is, who is your fan cast for the Reverse Flash? Or is it Miller?
Yeah. Yeah, he made that joke too, right? Which sucks. You're like, I was going to use that.
I was like, God damn it. I was so ready for it. I was like, I'm going to put this in there. After all this shit that happened with him in Hawaii, it's going to be hilarious. And then he fucking posted it like within the same hour of me thinking about it. I'm like, God damn it.
Oh, it sucks. I've always wanted, oh my God, I'm blanking on his name right now, but Dexter. I've always wanted Dexter. C. Hall? There you go. I've always wanted him to be Reverse Flash. So he's probably a lot older now, so he can't do it. But
I think a lot of people have actually wanted him. He just has that like menacing
he's such a good
look.
villain. Yeah, he's such a good villain. But he's a villain you can like, which is weird. That's very rare.
Yeah.
So yeah, because he's spoilers, but for anybody that never saw it, Date Night. Did you ever watch Date Night?
Oh,
he's a surprise villain at the end, and you're just like, oh, what the fuck? And it's just like really cool. Yeah. So yeah, I'd go Michael C. Hall there. And then we have Ethan, which I believe was saying, mine will be, do you think it would work if we get a Robin in the movies? If so, it will work. Do you think like the comics where he's 13 years old, or do you think it would be like the MCU where it's Captain America and Bucky? I'm assuming he's referring to where they CGI him down?
No. So
or like the flashbacks.
The idea of Bucky and Captain America in the comics, in traditional like Golden Age of comics, Bucky is like a child.
Mm-hmm.
And then MCU style, they made them relatively the same age.
And
the Winter Soldier, like Bucky was his like name.
Yeah.
But, as he became the Winter Soldier, he became like his sidekick,
Yeah.
So do you think a Robin should ever be the same age as Batman?
No. I think what you do is, again, because people age. It's what happens. I'm sorry. It's part of life. So you can't have a Robin for 3 movies. Like, you just can't. Not the same Robin is what I'll say. So I think the best thing you can do is you hire somebody young to be Robin for that first movie, and then he becomes like Nightwing or whatever he's supposed to be after that. Now, you can't do that necessarily with everybody, because like Tom Holland, which Ethan loves to say, oh, would Tom Holland make a good Robin? No, he wouldn't, because I do not buy him as somebody that could be a Robin and then turn into a Nightwing or a Red Hood.
He would
And
forever be Robin.
yeah, he would forever be. Well, the thing is, he just looks like a child, right? So
Yeah.
what I think you need to do is you need to hire somebody when they're in their teens, and then as they get older, because you could probably pass them off as Robin for like a movie or two, right? Like be like, hey, don't get super muscular, stay kind of thin, stay kind of young looking. That's what we want you to do for 2 movies. And then in the third movie, when they're like, let's just say you hire them around 13 to 16, right? Still going to look pretty relatively young, probably skinny kid or whatever. You have him be Robin. And then the thing is, you would probably have to go into their genetics too and be like, all right, is your father tall or are both of your parents like small? Like, you got to let us know this because like if you're gonna grow more, we want to know.
Yeah.
And you got to like fucking Jason Statham and Rocket somehow and make him look taller as he gets older. But the thing is if you could get them when they're young and then they have that growth spurt and then he becomes like older and he's like, oh yeah, now he's believable because we saw him as a child, like Harry Potter, right? You saw them as children. And then, like, bam, they blew up to be more adult. And you're like, oh, now it's believable. Although he's still very short. But if you compare him to that first movie, oh, yeah, he aged. Like, you can tell. And I think that's the way you need to do it with a Robin. So you need to introduce a Robin on the first movie when they're young. Because these movies take roughly, 3 years to make? So
well, that was the thing with the Harry Potter movies. I'm very glad that you brought up Harry Potter because they were on a strict schedule of making a movie every year and a half.
Yeah.
Until I think the 5th movie, they had to delay it. And so technically, Daniel Radcliffe, he was the exact same age that he was supposed to be in the books.
Yeah.
Almost every single movie.
That's awesome.
So it was believable for the people who were really big fans of that to be like, whoa, like I am watching this kid grow just like I watched him grow in these books. And it made sense. And it was really, I mean, thank God for everybody's genetics for that movie to where it was like, okay, you could visually see them grow.
Yeah.
But it wasn't dramatic because I make
but
this
they
joke.
Were children. Like they were children.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think when they filmed the movie, they were like 9 or 10 years old.
Yeah.
They were children.
Yeah.
And I make this joke all the time, like when talking about me in my high school days. Everybody above me felt like fucking giants. And I was like, holy shit, these people are like going into adulthood. And then I see the people directly below me in the grades directly below me. And I'm like, okay, like that looks like a junior. That looks like a sophomore. That looks like a freshman. And then the next year's freshman came in and I'm like, who the fuck are you? Why are you so fucking tall? Kids and genetics as time passes are fucking wild.
Yeah.
I see kids that are like in high school that are like just joining high school, like freshman year, that already look like they're about to graduate.
Yeah. Yeah. I always laugh because you can tell when a kid is young. Because the neighborhood I live in has like school bus drop-offs and stuff. So when I go get food or whatever, like I usually have to stop for the buses. And of course, these kids get out with their friends, right? And they're running. But you can tell when a kid is young because of the way they run. Like when they have the double backpack on and they run and their arms are out and they're just like, yeah, it's so funny, dude. I'm just like, and the backpack's going all over the place. It's like bouncing because it's like half their size. It's just so fucking funny, dude. I'm just like, that's a young kid. You can tell. Because like when you get into high school, that's when you're starting to care about how you look and shit, right? So like you don't fucking run anywhere with your backpack. You're just kind of like, I'm going to walk it or whatever. And like, nah, little kids are like, I'm the Flash. And you see this fucking backpack fall over the place. It's fucking hilarious. But yeah, if you were going to make it happen, you'd have to cast them young. And, that's the one thing that I don't think is ever going to work with. I think it's also why I've said I never want a high profile person like a Pattinson to be Batman. Is because you need to get a no-name actor that can be the character for a long time. And I think somebody like a Pattinson, I think he's done after 3, man. I know he said that he'll do as many as he wants, but I don't think so. I think after 3, he's done. I don't see him doing more. And you would want somebody that's just like, I'm Batman. Like, yo, dude, like you got to tell them coming into this, like, if we can make this thing ride for 20 years, we want you to be Batman for 20 years. And they're just like, fuck it, I'm down. You know what I mean? So that would be pretty cool because then you could really start doing those stories of like the way Hugh Jackman did it, right? Like that's the perfect progression. And you end his series with his death. Like Hugh Jackman has the best, although his first 3 movies were kind of garbage. That last one is banger. Everybody just remembers that. They're like, oh, dude, Logan was fire. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
and you just go from there. So, yeah.
Last question.
All right, we got one.
Yes, it's from King. He says, for Clay or Juice, if you were given the opportunity to swap one character out from either Marvel or DC Comics, who would it be and why?
Dude, I'm assuming I'm not swapping for somebody else, right? I'm just taking somebody from...
That's what I assumed. But if you want to go the route of just taking one character and putting them into the other, you can do that.
Yeah, I would go Black Cat just so Batman can have Catwoman and Black Cat. There you go. Seeing double right there, baby. R34, make it happen. That's it.
I always said, because there's always this really funny conversation whenever it comes to comics, that comic book fans are always like, oh no, the death of the comic book is coming. Like we're gonna lose everything. We need to figure out like a plan so that way, comics can still come out and everything else. Well, back in the day when both DC and Marvel were about to file for bankruptcy, they came out with a dual plan of this thing called Amalgam Comics. And they had these stories, and you can't get them anywhere else now. They're not on any type of comic book reader or anything because nobody can figure out the situation when it comes to money. So they are literally only available in print, and good luck finding them.
Yeah.
But it was like Spider-Boy, and it was Superboy and Spider-Man put together. They had Dark Claw, which was Batman and Wolverine put together, and their enemy was the Hyena, which was freaking Sabretooth and Joker put together. There was the Super Soldier, which was Captain America and Superman amalgam together. The Amazon was Storm and Wonder Woman put together. Like, they had some really cool stories with this. They had like 3 different like miniseries that had each team, like the Marvel characters and DC characters, teaming up. And there is an actual hero that is both owned by Marvel and DC called Amalgam. And he was like the key to figuring everything out. But my idea was, if you want DC and Marvel to have a legitimate crossover, you should get, and it's going to be crazy, and it would honestly get Juice to buy a Marvel comic for the first time. You put Batman in Marvel and you put Spider-Man in DC.
And just Batman, like what? Have them deal with the same kind of shit?
So Batman would have to deal with all of Spider-Man's rogues, and then Spider-Man would have to deal with all of Batman's rogues.
That'd be interesting. I mean, it's a nice little gimmick, but I want to see how far they would go with it. You know what I mean?
And you do it like you promise it for a year. That's it. Either 12 issues or 24 issues. That's it. You get a volume or 2.
Yeah.
Like just something that is crazy. You do that. And you then have to deal with like, okay, Batman beats the shit out of everybody. Like everybody. And there isn't really there is an insane asylum in Marvel Comics. But there isn't anything as crazy as Arkham. So like, excuse me, I'm about to sneeze. But with like how Batman deals with Gotham compared to how Spider-Man deals with his part of New York, because everybody's in New York, right?
Yeah.
Batman is this is my city. Nobody can deal with it.
Yeah.
Then you have to deal with Batman trying to keep that ego with all of the Marvel heroes.
That'd be interesting. I can see that. I just feel like
he would go further into that ego, or it would teach him to work more congruent with other heroes. And then he learns from that experience, and he can have some of that growth when he comes back to DC.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be interesting, but I mean, who would write it? Because it can't be just Zdarsky, because he doesn't know how. But anyways,
we don't know that yet, Juice. Yeah. We don't know that.
We know. We're fooling ourselves. We're like the Snyder fans that think that they're gonna get their universe back. That somebody could write Batman good. Yeah, somebody could. But I think that is everything, right? Questions wise. So we're gonna move on to comics, which I'm not gonna lie to you, not a great week. I I have thoughts on vampires. I got it spoiled for me, so we'll talk about that when we talk about it. But not gonna lie to you, Clay, I didn't read White Knight. I skimmed it. I didn't care. What would you say on this? Also, is Dick Grayson a White Power Ranger? Is he a Power Ranger now?
So this is of course, I told you in a text, I said, this is, of course, Murphy's crazy Murphy verse in this whole, White Knight series.
Yeah.
So what you are seeing is Powers has all of Wayne's money.
Okay. Is this
So
somebody that was introduced before?
no, Powers, the guy from Batman Beyond.
Oh, the guy that turns into the electric thingy, right? Or
Yes,
the
the neon green type of radiation dude. Yeah. So he is the individual that basically he was able to get the what was the bill that Bruce worked on at the very end of the last with Jack and
I
the
don't know.
GCPD and all of that,
I don't
basically
remember anything from this book.
giving all of his money out to Gotham and
Yeah.
like helping the lower income families and all of this. It was legitimately like a good idea, quote unquote,
Yeah.
right? So he undid all of that. He's like, well, there's not really a story if I make I can't make a happily ever after and then make a sequel to it, right? So he undid all of that. Terry McGinnis works for Powers, and Powers, for the most part, claiming that all of Wayne Tech is basically his production. Like the bat suits, the Batmobiles, all of this. Something that was never said before. So again, it kind of feels shoehorned in just for the story.
Yeah.
He tells Terry in a throwaway line, "Oh, well, I made all of his tech anyway, so I'll teach you how to work this stuff." And so like they sneak into the now destroyed Wayne Manor to go into the cave and grab the Batman Beyond suit. So they're doing that. Anarchy and a whole bunch of villains are in Blackgate where Bruce is, and Todd gets captured by an acolyte of Anarchy. Bruce has to save him, and then he learns that Powers basically got Batman up and running again with this new Batman, and he's like, "Well, the only Batman out there is supposed to be me, so I have to go stop him." Blah blah blah. And at the very end, we see now that Joker is now inside of Bruce's head, it seems. Just like how
I saw the ending. I thought he died in the last issue, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Joker is dead. But it seems to be like, it doesn't really show it here, but I think that's how they're going to play it, is that Joker is going to be inside of Bruce's head.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw the ending and I was like, of course he couldn't let the Joker not be in this. I was like, lame.
We see Harley, we see the twins, we see that there's a boy and a girl when it comes to the twins, and one of them is very much seems normal-ish, and the other one is very Joker-esque. So you can kind of see where all that's going to probably go.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't care about this book. Murphy lost me on the last series, and he never talked about the way the first one ended. So it doesn't show me continuity. It doesn't show me good storytelling, and he killed everybody. So like, why am I to care?
Rogue gallery. There's no rogue gallery left.
Why am I to care about this? The art was cool the first series, but the second series wasn't good enough, so I don't really care about it. And we tried to give Harley a shot too. Harley was ridiculous. That was, I think, written by his wife. So I didn't really care about this, so I didn't even bother giving it a chance. Another thing that I started to read and I just stopped because it sucked was Shadow War Alpha.
Really? You didn't?
I didn't like this.
I thought you said you didn't like it, but I didn't think you stopped reading it.
I stopped reading it. I mean, no, I skimmed it, so I know what happens. But I was just like, this is boring. It didn't feel like the characters, the way they talked was great. But I skimmed it all, and I was like, this is just dumb. Like, I didn't like it.
I can see where they're going, but the only problem is Williamson has only had Batman for 3 issues.
Yeah.
And it was more of like a, hey, I'm going to tell this random story so that way we can get Batman taken care of before Chip Zdarsky comes in.
Yeah.
But the literal last issue that Williamson has control over Batman with is coming out next week.
Yeah.
And it's a tie-in to this story.
Yeah.
So that is his only time he can really play with Batman in this story, other than this like series of issues, which is Alpha and then Omega at the very end.
Yeah. So my issue with this is we already see Robin fighting with Talia or whatever. We see a Ra's al Ghul spying on them. Fast forward to Ra's dying. He's like, hey, we've been doing things wrong all along, and we should probably change their way. And he wants to do good in the world, right? He's going to do this press conference. This is what I've gotten from just skimming everything and reading some little parts. He wants to do this press conference. And I don't know what he's going to say here, but apparently it's supposed to be good for the world or whatever.
He's basically saying, like, hey, most of you probably don't know me because I wasn't really made to be known. You know, I'm only known in certain parts of the world, blah, blah, blah. But recently, through some events, some family has taught me that the only way that this world is going to get better is if I surrender and if I let these heroes actually take care of the world.
Yeah.
I will be honest, I actually like this issue. The only problem that I had was the fact that, like, they marketed this as a Batman, Robin, Deathstroke crossover.
Yeah.
When they should have probably only marketed it as a Robin Deathstroke. And the reason why I say that is because, again, like I said, next issue of Batman is the only tie-in issue. And Batman is going to be a part of the story. But you can't say, oh, it's a crossover with Batman, because you're going to expect more stories from the Batman title to be tied into this.
Yeah.
They're using Joshua Williams' name and his attachment to Batman just to sell this crossover.
Yeah.
That's honestly what they're doing.
So the big thing that happens here is while Ra's is talking, he gets shot in the head. He gets sniped. And it's a big double page spread that says bang with him getting shot in it. We get old school Deathstroke suit with a sniper. Everybody's like, no! Damian's like, grandfather! My problem, and then I love how Batman's like, Deathstroke. Like, he doesn't give a fuck that Ra's just died. He's like, Deathstroke. He goes after what is supposed to be done. My problem here is, it was just the last Robin issue that Damian was like, what's going on, mother? Like, he was ready to fight his mother to the death in the last issue. And then now they're like, oh, hunky-dory, you've been the best mom in the whole life.
So
that's my problem.
That was one of my issues in the very beginning of this. They were like sword fighting, but they were playing as though like, oh no, like I'm fighting to defend my honor. They were pretend fighting. Like, yes, you could say, oh, they were probably training and all of this, but the way their dialogue was really cheesy. It was really cheesy and campy, and I didn't like that. Now, the one thing that I don't like about Batman in this issue is when Ra's dies, Damian's like, why didn't you let me save him? We could have just taken his body and he could, be thrown into the Lazarus pit. And Batman says, well, it's because I'm your son, damn it. And that's a cool moment. But what happens immediately after, Williamson, go fuck yourself. Because then Damian goes on to this huge rant about, like, I have now lost 2 grandfathers, that being Alfred and Ra's al Ghul. And he's like, and because of the things that I've learned with my new friends, like, I've come here to try to be a better person. Yeah. And he says, when he says, I have now lost 2 grandfathers because of your choices, he's pointing at Batman. Because of your choices, Batman says, if I was the one there, I could have saved Alfred.
Wait, what? Hold on. That's actually, I didn't read that. That's a good burn. But that's fucked up.
Is that something Bruce would say?
I don't think so. I don't think so at all. That's
because
a good burn, though.
Because like it's a good bird. Don't get me wrong. It's like, oh shit. But then Damian has this look of disgust and like, what the fuck did you just say? Walks away, and then Batman's like, oh wait, Damian, that's not what I meant.
Yeah.
What? Like,
so I'd have to go back and read it, but it's Damian's fault that Alfred died, right? Because he went in when he wasn't supposed to.
yes, he had the ego that he kind of used to have when he was a lot younger, and he was like, well, if my father's not going to do anything, I will. And that's when he like uses magic and all sorts of shit.
Yeah.
And we were both like, oh shit, like Damian's about to actually win this. And then all that shit happens.
Yeah. So normally he wouldn't say this, right? But there is precedent here that Batman has said fucked up things before to get his point across, right? Because he told Superman the most important, what was it? What's the line? Like
he said best... the biggest influence you had over the world was when you were dead.
Yeah, which is fucked up, but it's one of the most iconic lines to Superman, right? Yeah. And so if you sit back and look here, like you got to remember, Bruce has got to be pissed that his father died too because of his son. And his son over here is being a little brat and saying like, I've lost 2 grandfathers because of you. And he's like, whoa, let me slap this fucking taste out of your mouth, Will Smith style right now, and tell you that Alfred didn't need to die. It was your fault. You know, that's probably what he's thinking. And, you know, if you've ever been in a heated argument with your wife or something like that, sometimes you say shit you don't mean because you know it's going to sting. But at the same time, you're just like, oh, fuck. You say shit to like end the conversation, but you already know you're going to pay for it later. So you're just like, oh, God damn it, I shouldn't have said that. So I can see Bruce saying that. But in reality, Bruce would have had a better plan because he knew how crazy Bane was. Damian acted on his own freaking mindset and got Alfred killed. And that's why Bruce is like, you have to live with your consequences. That's kind of what he's been telling him. You know what I mean? But the thing here is I don't like, one, I fucking hated that Damian wasn't wearing his mask, and then he's automatically wearing his mask. Did you notice that? That annoyed the hell out of me.
That was a little bit of a continuity thing that I was like, actually...
He does put it on, like, in one little panel, but why would you not have your mask on? Like, ever, in your suit? That makes no sense.
I'm trying to
in broad daylight.
If he, like... Oh, no, he doesn't have it on for the entire thing.
Yeah, when there's cameras around and he's running, doing all this stuff, he's literally Robin with no mask on. Everybody knows who Damian Wayne is. Like,
that is true.
So it's so stupid. That's why I just rolled my eyes. I was like, this is fucking dumb. Also, just thinking about the idea of like, we know how Damian is, right? He's a little asshole every once in a while. Unless you read Super Sons where he's actually dope. Like, that's the best version of Damian. But Damian never just gets over something. He's teenage angst personified. He's always mad at Bruce, but you're going to tell me that he just got over being like, he's cool with Talia and his grandfather right now? Like, but he's always mad at Bruce? Like, come on. I can understand that maybe it's because Raish kind of raised him, right? And so did Talia. So I can understand there being a little bit more connection with them. So I'll give him that. But now we're just going to get angsty fucking Damian for this whole thing again, trying to kill Deathstroke, right? And his mom, we see that she's going to do this whole Shadow War thing.
Yeah, she's now like, the demon's head. And...
Yeah. And so they're both going to do what Raish didn't want. And it's just like, I don't care. Like... I genuinely don't care. Like, you could have done a million more things. And you're telling me this is the unforgivable thing that Deathstroke does? Like, really? Kills a bad guy? He does that all the time.
It's not really unforgivable, but the big thing is, the big twist at the end, it's not Deathstroke.
It wasn't Deathstroke? Who was it? I didn't even pay attention.
So, they, because Deathstroke is the king of all supervillains or whatever his title is, members of the council or whatever go to Deathstroke and they're like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Look what you just did. Like, why did you do this? And he's like, what the fuck are you talking about? I've been training my son this entire time. Of course, showing freaking shit. What's the sidekick's name again? Respawn. That's right. And he's like, well, then if it wasn't you, who the fuck was it? And then that's when we leave on the cliffhanger of like all of Talia's new recruits trying to kill Deathstroke. Yeah. But it's we find out that it's an imposter. Like
Yeah.
somebody is trying to frame Deathstroke for the death of Ra's al Ghul.
Okay. Still don't care. Even though it's a nice little twist or whatever, but still don't really care because what is this going to do? Like where is it going to go from here? We're just going to have a war between two sides. You know what I mean? It's just like, okay. All right.
Yeah.
I don't care. Cuz it's still you want to know why that I have a problem with this with Raish dying? They're just going to bring him back somehow. He's never going to stay dead. They will find a toe or something to throw in the freaking Lazarus pit and he'll grow back. He'll Deadpool this shit. It's just what he does, right? Because the only reason why he hasn't been using the Lazarus water or whatever is because he has a clear mind and he doesn't want to go crazy or whatever. He's trying to think better and be better. So he's like, I don't want to do it anymore. Somebody's going to throw him in there. It's going to, a bomb went off right by his body, but they're going to have shard pieces of him or whatever. And they're like, yeah, we threw it in the Lazarus pit. I would not be surprised if he comes back at the end of this story and he takes over both factions somehow and he's an even bigger, better Demon's Head. So
I could see that too.
There's no stakes here because you're not going to get rid of Ra's al Ghul, and he comes back all the time with Lazarus water. You know what I mean? It's like Joker, right? Like at the end when we saw Joker after he apparently died, we were just like, are you fucking kidding me? Like,
yeah, that's something that we talked about immediately after the Joker War is like when you think you're gonna kill somebody, even if you don't really kill them, don't tease it. Don't tease it the very next page.
Yeah.
Let it sit. Let people have conversation about it. Let people think that you actually did a ballsy thing, like kill one of the most famous Batman villains.
Yeah.
And then a couple months down, throw some little sprinkles in there and be like, oh shit, is he dead or is he not? Like, that's what you need to do.
Yeah. Yeah, but Joker is the money seller, right? So it is what it is. But let's jump over to Batman One Dark Knight Book 2. Now, I enjoyed this story, the first issue, and so I was excited for this issue, and I feel like it was taking forever to come out. Love the art in this book. Loved a lot of the imagery that happened in this. But what were your overall thoughts of this issue?
My overall thoughts of this issue is that nothing fucking happened.
Yeah, it was a lot of just fighting.
It's
although
a lot of fighting.
What happened to Montoya was kind of fucked.
Yes. What happened to her was like, oh shit. But this was a lot of. I mean, it is technically like the main synopsis and main mission of Batman to like, oh, I have to go through the entire city of Gotham.
Yeah.
In order to put this person back at Blackgate or whatever, right? So like that is the story, but like you literally, and I think 2 pages of this, it's a 2-page spread, like get the map in the background, you have like a really close up on Batman talking like inner monologue of like how he's gonna do this and whatnot. And I'm just like, there needs to be more. There needs to be something here that is more than just the crazed out gangsters of Gotham to be like, oh, we're going to kill you and this dude because you're saving him. Like it's generic. Like we said, I liked it after I read it because I didn't read it that first week. You're like, hey, this is actually on my top 10 list for 2021 books.
Yeah.
Like, oh shit. Let me read it.
Damn, was that long ago? Fuck.
Yeah. It was before, it was the last week of 2021 that this came out. So it's been almost 5 months for this thing. So was it worth the wait? I don't really think so. And the big thing is the next book is the finale.
Yeah, I think that's one of the problems with Black Label, right? Is we get these grittier versions of the heroes somewhat, but I think that
heroes meaning just Batman.
Yeah. But that 3-issue like limit, I think ruins a lot of stuff, which is weird because like that didn't happen with Killer Smile, or was it called Killer Smile? No, Insanity. So like that got like 9 issues. So I don't know. I don't know if people just hard cap themselves at 3, but I do agree that more could have happened in this. Now I will say there were certain panels in here that kind of seemed like Batman killed some people. And I was just like, I am gonna let those slide and assume they lived, but if
as
somebody wanted
as
to argue,
as Zack
uh,
Snyder would have said, "Oh, those guys, they're fine.
yeah,
They're fine."
yeah, yeah, because he's literally fighting people on top of a railway, and this is one of those, I guess, railways in kind of like Chicago, which I would assume are like about 2 stories high or so, right? Fighting somebody up there. They pull knives on him. He kicks them off of the railway and they fall, and there's nothing under there. And so you assume they fall down to the street. And at the way they're falling, I think you can survive a 2 story drop, but
See,
you know,
you say 2 story. I legit think this is like 5 or 6 stories.
do you think that's how high it is for like those ones in Chicago? Because that's what I imagine. Like in those railways, those like what do they call them? Not monorails. Yeah, monorails.
Yeah,
Are
like
monorails really five
subways and
stories high?
subways and monorails. Some of them are.
Oh. Well, so yeah, I'm assuming it's anywhere from that thing. But these guys are going to get seriously hurt. But usually in this instance, Batman, if he does that, he's throwing something to catch them. You know what I mean? Which I thought of a stupid but interesting gadget Batman should have in these instances. He should have like an instant, like inflatable thing that automatically like pops up. So he can just throw it down and it pops and then they land on it. So they survive. But he still kicked them off and survived or whatever.
Calling up Balma for Capsule Corp. Hey,
Pretty much. That's what he does anyways, right? Like, nothing's going to get crazier than this, like, automatic face shield that he had in Odyssey when he gets blasted right in the mouth or whatever. Or, like, it's a face shield that's always there, but you never see it. And, yeah, nothing's ever going to beat that.
It's apparently what Pattinson had.
Yeah, I mean that's automatic. Yeah, I guess he did have that. I guess he must have read Odyssey. Holy shit! But yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, for mostly this thing is just Batman crossing through the city, which I think is pretty cool. We're seeing that one doctor lady was a villain, which we kind of got that vibe in the first issue. And then there's this random kid that is like EMP Junior, and so he does the same kind of stuff, but not as crazy. For the most part, it's a nice looking book, but yeah, there's not a lot happening here. And then Batman, it ends with them capturing EMP, which I did like that they cornered him and then he had to fight a bunch of people. Like they knew the territory better than Batman. And then they knew that he was coming. So it's like, all right, they captured him in an area and he had to kind of fight out of that because you would think like, yeah, if Batman's carrying somebody to survive, he has to drop them. So he's risking them dying. Yeah. And I thought that was pretty interesting because, Batman's had to have been in that situation a few times. But at the same time, you could argue that, well, it was probably a calculated risk because he knows that they want him. So maybe they wouldn't go after him fully, like kill him. But anyways, they end up taking EMP into the sewer. Batman dives in there and he's like, it's dark. So I love this. So we'll see what happens in the next issue. But I totally agree with you. Not a lot happened. It did look pretty, though. I like the, Jock's style fits well with a city that has no lights. So
yeah, no, I do like Jock's style. I think it's gotten progressively better from back when. I mean, I loved Black Mirror, but I hated the Batman Who Laughs miniseries.
Yeah, it was terrible. It was so hard to read too.
It was so hard to read. There was a lot of aesthetics that they were trying to put into there, and it didn't really work out. But this, I enjoy this.
Yeah. Other than that, that's it. So now moving on to our final book of the week, which is DC's versus Vampires. Now, I had the big reveal spoiled for me because
that fucking sucks.
Yeah, and the reason why this happened is I was on Reddit. I followed some DC stuff on Reddit, on top of a bunch of other stuff that let's just say is always censored. And so I don't read titles, people. I don't read titles. I just click the image. And because it's always censored for me anyways, I'm just like, all right, I gotta fucking go through this. And I just so happened to click this, and I was like, the fuck is this? I was like, why is fucking, so-and-so doing this to this other character? And I'm just like, oh, it's Tuesday, isn't it? I was like, fuck. I was like, who posts spoilers right away? And I was just like so pissed because it's been so long since I've had anything spoiled for me.
Now,
I couldn't believe it.
You know this, but I'm going to go ahead and reiterate this just because it is something of a conversation on Twitter as of late, especially with that of our conversation with the Batman and movies and everything else. But do you agree or disagree? And I know you're going to disagree, but it just,
Mhm.
rhetorical question, I guess. Um, you are responsible on how you manage your social media when things come out, such as
Yes.
a movie, and you're not wanting to be spoiled. It
Hmm.
is then your responsibility to mute words that you need to mute, block things
Yeah.
that you need to block, blah, blah, blah. I get that. I totally
Hmm.
get that. I still think it's wrong. I still like you shouldn't be the asshole that says, "Hey, it's 2 days before the official premiere of this movie, but so and so dies, so and so
Yeah.
lives. This is the main plot. These are the cameos. Holy shit, it was a great movie."
Yeah.
Like that's fucked. You shouldn't do it. Same thing
Yeah.
with comics. You just shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
But I understand that we are under a new status quo of how people want to talk about these movies, and I that's why I try to read these books as quickly as possible.
Yeah. Well, the thing is this has never happened before. Like genuinely, I've never been spoiled, and maybe I'll just unfollow the Batman Reddit so I don't have this happen again. But it's never happened, and I'm just like
And that's
really
and that's
surprised.
that's the really shitty thing. It's like, "Oh, I want to keep up to date with some of these characters and the
Yeah.
news that is attached to them." But when people post shit like that, tagging the one thing that you know that you follow for those specific reasons, and
Yeah.
then you get spoiled, that's shitty.
And Twitter's the worst because like I am just now starting to follow people again, but I'm like Clay's my fucking co-host, but I'm like, do I want to follow Clay? Because the moment I follow Clay, I'm gonna get all this comic book bullshit. Because not coming from Clay, but it's because of Twitter's stupid algorithm. It's like, oh, you follow somebody that likes comics, so here's some other comic bullshit you might like. And I'm
See,
like,
I
no.
don't like that. So what I started doing is every single time I see a this was liked by so and so,
Mm-hmm.
and I go over there and I see that I don't follow them, I
Yeah.
mute them.
Nice.
I mute everything that Twitter recommends me. I mute it and I
Yeah.
block it. I'm like, you're not getting me this time, fucking Twitter. I
Yeah.
don't want to see shit that I don't want to see. Like,
I only keep Twitter on my PC. So unless I'm on my PC, I don't get on Twitter. I don't see it, and I just try to refrain from being spoilers. Now, I do like. I'm not super mad about the Reddit thing. It just caught me off guard because it's never happened. Like, and I was just like, oh shit. And I was just like, it was very early, so I wasn't. I was just like blazing through photos and be like, ah, let's see what's going on today in the world, you know. And I just clicked on it. I was like, oh, you gotta be shitting me. So, anyways, let's dive into this so we can talk about what actually happened. Because even with it being spoiled, I have a lot of opinions on this. So
okay.
good and bad, to be honest. So let's go to this. We're in Gotham Harbor, which is pretty interesting. Everybody is there that we've been seeing from the comics, right? All the good guys are in this one area. This is post the Batcave battle, so they're all kind of like heal or trying to heal. They're getting patched up, and we also see that the Suicide Squad. We got introduced to them the last issue. Is I like this moment. I thought this was funny.
Poor Boomerang, man.
Yeah, I thought this was funny. So, Waller, Harley gets a line with Waller because they didn't have communication. They're like, hey, we got some zombie vampire people that are doing it. And like, it's our own teammates. And they're like, Waller asks, who? Who is we? And she's like, oh, me and Deadshot. And she's like, all right. And she just starts popping everybody's head.
She starts hold on one second. And then all of a
Yeah.
sudden you see Savant's head explode. You see freaking King Shark's head explode. And then Boomerang's like, hey Harley, did you forget to tell them that I was a part of the Boo?
Yeah. And you can do shit like that in these books, right? These books that are not meant to be continuity. I think that's just a good gag, and it's something Harley would definitely do. So I just think it stays in character. And they're like, "How did you forget that?" And she's like, "I don't know. I forgot he was here." And so we just see poor Boomerang die for no reason. And then we go back to the harbor, and we have some interactions with the other Robins. And then Wonder Woman and Green Lantern show up, and they're like, "Oh fuck!" So everybody's ready to fight. Which I'm surprised Canary and Red weren't here, which I thought was interesting. But they might be at their other base. So then we have a conversation going on or starting like, "Yo, Bruce, we want you to be a part of the vampires. Like, you could do a lot. You could be immortal. All this kind of jazz." Bruce obviously is like, "No, not going to do it." And they're like, "Well, we tried." So we see a big fight happening between Wonder Woman and Green Lantern and everybody else.
Wonder Woman does put the lasso of truth on Bruce and was like, "Don't lie to me. The lasso is on you. Tell me that you have never thought about being an immortal soul to forever take care of Gotham." And he's like, "Yeah, I have." Yeah. And you're like, "Oh shit."
Yeah.
Like,
well, I mean, is that really a surprise though?
No. But again, it's just one of those moments that, like, of course it's because of the lasso, but would he ever come to terms with like facing that truth head on, you know? Like being able to outwardly have that conversation without the lasso?
I mean, fucking Superman gave him that option though. You know? We saw him with the power to be a kryptonite. Yeah. And if you just look at stuff like he created the last, what is it, the last invention or the last whatever.
Yeah.
You know, so he's planned to, if it's not him physically, his mind will be implanted in somebody else. You know what I mean? Like to continue to protect Gotham. So he's definitely thought about it and tried to think about ways of being immortal, but he's never actually done it. You know what I mean? That's the thing. So that didn't surprise me, but it is still one of those moments where you're just like, oh shit. Then they're using like super powered lamps to start burning both Wonder Woman and Hal here. And it seems like they're getting the upper hand. Hal's like, y'all ain't got shit. Y'all ain't got shit on us. Like, do you really think you do that? Alfred comes out of nowhere, cutting off Hal's hand or his arm. So he loses the power of the ring. And I was like, hell yeah, Alfred, that was fucking dope. So they're like, what are you going to do here? We get cut to the Suicide Squad. We find the Joker was not the king. He was not the king vampire like they thought. This visual of the Joker smiling and dead with like no blood looks really awesome.
I did not get that he was dead at first. I was like when I turned the page and I saw him, I was like, oh shit, what are they gonna do? And then like they're like, oh, somebody sucked the blood out of him. And I was like, oh shit, he's dead.
Yeah. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then we see Hal and Wonder Woman talking. I'm glad we see Ollie kill Hal here. And I was like, thank you. Oh my God. I'm so glad that Hal wasn't going to make it to the end.
Like the fact that like freaking Bruce is about to say something. He's like, no, fuck you. Like, I just had to kill one of my best friends for killing another one of my best friends. This whole thing is fucked. I need some time. And he just walks away. Like, it does show a little bit of that humanity that is barely left in this team because of the shit that's been going on.
Yeah. And so that's when we get Batgirl to call in and be like, Bruce, can you hear me? And she's like, yeah. He's like, we found the Joker. He's dead. He's not the king. That means the only person that has this information is one of us. And then Bruce is like, copy, over and out or whatever. So he doesn't tell everybody. Bruce is the only one that hears this. And page turn, Nightwing, fucking Kano style, through Batman's heart, I'm assuming kills Batman here, and is all like, we should both stop lying to our families here, father. And this was the page turn that got spoiled for me. And I was like, are you shitting me?
Fuck.
Again, I said this when we started reading this originally. I hate that our main superheroes never make it to the end of these things.
So I'm going to call you out on this just a little bit.
Okay.
Just a little bit. Because I wondered, I was like, is he going to not like this?
Mm-hmm.
Because although it had a lackluster ending, we both enjoyed the fact that Batman was first off the table and deceased.
Yes, I agree. But I think with what I just said, it's part of that, though. You know what I mean? Like, we agreed with that. It's the same thing, like, it's nice when it happens, but not all the time.
Yeah.
Our heroes are dying all the time, like, in these stories. You know what I mean? Well, granted, they're the same person that writes them all the time.
I was more so saying that towards Batman, but what happens next in the next few pages, this is where I was like, what the fuck, man? Because what happens next is there's a huge fight. First one out, freaking spoiler is
Orphan.
Orphan, sorry. Orphan
Yeah.
gets her arm broken, and then I think she is tossed aside, basically. She isn't
Mhm.
dead yet. And then we see Tim Drake fighting Nightwing, and Nightwing fucking curb stomps his ass, and his
Yeah.
head fucking explodes. Tim
Yeah.
Drake is dead.
hmm
He's
Least
off the
favorite
table.
Robin. See, my rant makes sense here.
Next on the table is Damien. And I'm like, oh shit, what's going to happen here? So
Yeah.
then Damien starts to fight, and then he gets bitten, seemingly dead. Okay.
Yeah.
Then Jason comes along, and there's some actual fucking burns here on both sides. They
hmm
both go at it. And I think now is the perfect time too, because then you're just like, either I'm gonna die or I'm gonna win, and
Yeah.
that means you're gonna die. And so they're both kind of going at each other's throats, like literally. And Wonder Woman gets out of the fucking lasso and starts biting him, and
hmm
actually starts to change him. And he yells, "Do it, Archer!" And Ollie fucking kills him.
Yeah.
Kills him. It goes through him, almost about to hit Wonder Woman, but because of her skin, the arrow breaks off.
Yeah.
The entire Bat family, besides Batgirl and Orphan, are dead. But then
Yeah.
there's the small comment that Wonder Woman says, "Oh, well, the son of Batman is barely living."
hmm
So I think we will see Damien as a vampire.
Yeah, and then it's essentially the last few panels are everybody, all the vampires destroying the world with all the heroes they have. We have Superman destroying the White House. We have, what's his name? The fire guy.
Firestorm
Firestorm
destroying
destroying
all
the,
of the force, like the
yeah,
Amazon force and everything else. But the next page is the actual heroes like worried. So I
yeah,
think these characters are the ones that are like, oh fuck, what's going to happen here? So
yeah,
there are other characters that probably will be in the last few issues,
yeah,
but something that we haven't announced yet. There's spin-offs of
yeah,
this
of
series
course.
already coming out.
Yeah. My issue with this is I've been loving this. But the thing is you gave me, what is this, issue 6? You gave me 6 issues revolved around all of the Bat family. And in one issue, you killed all of them. So why do I give a fuck about anybody else? Now I only care about Ollie? Like, that's it? I kind of have an issue with that. Because now it's going to be just a brand new story, pretty much, with none of the characters that we were all about. Like, I can understand killing one or two here and there, but the whole family? Like, because do you think Bruce survives this? Because they took him out.
I don't think he does, because where's his body?
Well, they dragged it out.
No,
It's
they
on the
didn't.
submarine.
No, they didn't.
They totally dragged. Let me see. Let me bring this back up. Because Alfred had him. Why do you think Alfred would just let him go?
Alfred didn't have him. They had Orphan.
No. So let me go back. Let me, because I could have swore I just saw this. So if you look at this, Ollie comes in on one page when it's like, Alfred, I'll kill them all, blah blah blah, and so Alfred is right there with Batman and Damian. Then that's when Nightwing's beating the shit out of everybody. If you look in the background, right before Drake is going to get his ass beat, there is somebody, I think, taking Orphan out of the door, which I believe is Red Hood. So Orphan might be on the submarine. And then there's no visuals anywhere of Batman not being taken out or anything, but we know Alfred is on the submarine. So why would he leave Batman there? And you see Orphan getting put on the submarine too. So we're assuming Batman's either body is there. I think Alfred would take his body even if he died. You know what I mean?
Maybe. But like what we see is the last time we see Batman's body is near the opening of the door. So you might be right. You
Yeah.
might be right that that Alfred took him. We do see uh Cass, or sorry, I keep saying Cass.
I mean, it's
But
Cass. It's right. It's
yeah,
Orphan. But
Cass is basically thrown to the ground once Tim Drake jumps in, and we see uh, Red Hood, Jason,
mhm.
take her to the dock. He hands her off to Ollie, but we see no indication of Batman.
Yeah, but Alfred's already in the submarine, so Batman could be in there. And this might be one of those things that they don't want you to notice. They want you
Probably.
to think Batman's dead.
Probably. Because for me, I'm thinking, what the fuck was up with Lex Luthor's blood
Yeah.
if, like, everybody's now dead? Now, I'm going to call a little bit of bullshit. Rosenberg, we know we love you.
Mm-hmm.
But this could be a technicality. Nightwing explains to Dick Grayson, oh, how I was able to do this, how I was able to pass all of your tests,
Yeah.
Starfire's blood.
Mm-hmm.
We were able to capture her, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, hold the fucking phone. I go back to issue 2.
Yeah.
We see Starfire.
Mm-hmm.
But this was back when they were all planning. So it may just be a visual of like, hey, because they're like, oh, I think Damien's right. If the vampires were smart, they would infiltrate some of our teams.
Yeah.
And they show the Teen Titans, they show the Outsiders, they show the Justice League and whatnot. So I think it was a visual cue, not necessarily like, hey, she's out here fighting vampires right now.
Yeah.
So that was around the same time. That was the exact same issue of them being tested. So I was like, you know,
Yeah.
like I said, a technicality, it could just be a visual thing for us as the audience to be like, oh, the Teen Titans, she's on that team.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, man. I just like, if Batman is dead, like, I don't mind it, but I just feel like with all of these stories we've been getting, like, all of our heroes are dying. Like, it's very rare that we get to see these kind of stories with our heroes. It seems like a lot of these stories are like, oh, we get to kill our heroes in these stories. This is how they're being written nowadays. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I still want to see how the Trinity would deal with this kind of situation, but it seems like they get taken out so easily. And if you're going to tell me they've survived 80 years of all this other bullshit, but they can't just survive this,
survive vampires?
You know what I mean?
And
like,
you can make the argument, oh, but this is an alternate Earth that they're able to survive. And it's like, well, we want to see them survive, right?
Yeah. And if you want to kill Batman, kill him later on in the story. You know what I mean? So it's more believable. Like, the deceased one was interesting because it's like, okay, it's going to be their kids, right? We don't see too many of that. So that was intriguing. But I've read that story. I've seen Batman die. I've seen Superman die. So I want something a little different in that same kind of realm. Keep them all alive. I love that this was all the Bat family fighting together, fighting vampires.
Well,
like, that's kind of cool.
If you're wanting to kill Batman, I think you should do it a la that of like the Book of Eli with Denzel Washington. He dies at the very fucking end.
Yeah. Spoilers. It's been out forever. Yeah.
I mean, shit, that movie's been out for fucking
Somebody's be like, dude, spoiler alert, bro. Spoiler alert. After seeing Denzel talk to Will Smith, I wanted to watch that movie. But like, yeah, so, you know, I was already kind of like, I got this thing spoiled for me. I mean, I think I would have had a different reaction and been like, oh, fuck. But I just don't like that the whole Bat family just got annihilated. Granted, I'm glad it was at least Nightwing, somebody that knew all of them, you know what I mean? And he had like superpowers that was going to make it a little bit more like believable that he could beat everybody's ass. But you know, Damien as a vampire. Now, if they do like the bait and switch where Damien becomes a vampire and ends up killing all the vampires because he turned, maybe that'll be something. But for the most part, like, yeah, I don't know where we go from here. You just eliminated every single character we were caring about. Is that why they introduced the Suicide Squad? Just so we can have new characters to care about? And I'm just probably. Like...
But like, then now you only have that of possibly Batman, Spoiler, and Batgirl.
Yeah.
And the Bat family. That's it.
Yeah, and Alfred.
Well, you know what needs to Duke, but he's in the Outsiders, and we don't know what happened to them.
Yeah. What needs to happen here, and if it doesn't happen in this book, I'm going to call a big misstep, because unless this happened already and somebody can correct me in the comments. But have we seen Poison Ivy at all?
No.
Because Poison Ivy can annihilate every single person on this planet. And if you're burning the rainforests, you are going to have a hell to pay from Poison Ivy. Because we know Poison Ivy can grow shit from the roots of the universe and all of that kind of shit. Like, she doesn't need just the surface area. She can make a whole burnt area grow back. But Tom King made Poison Ivy one of the strongest Batman villains in the world. So she could easily fuck up so many of these people. So she either needs to be a vampire already, which I don't know how that would make sense because she is a plant, but at the same time can also like reform herself and bloom again.
Yeah.
So I don't think you could ever have her be a plant. So if she doesn't show up here at all, they're gonna be like, she's too strong. We can't use her. Like, but you have like Superman over here. You know what I mean? But that's like, I don't know, man. I think that's and I've said that many times when we've reviewed this book before. It sucks that all three of our Trinity are all either now dead or bad guys.
Out of commission, yeah.
Yeah. Because I'm not the biggest Superman fan, but I want to see Superman fighting all these fucking people. You know what I mean? Like, I want the Bat family to be like, all right, we're gonna go this way, but there's like 100 vampires over there, and Superman's like, I got the 100. Like, you know what I mean? I want to see that, and then just have like a bunch of just him fucking up all these. That's what I want to see. And but it sucks because they always have to take him out first because it's like, not thinking that Superman wouldn't be the guy to try to be calm and help everybody. You know what I mean? Like, he's going to give so many people chances. It's what he does. He's the Boy Scout for a reason. So he's not going to go over here busting his friends' heads off. Like, you know what I mean? So you can keep him around and be like, Bruce can try to, knock some sense into him and be like, you're being too soft, Clark, blah, blah. He's like, if there's a way, Bruce, we need to try to find it, blah, blah. And you can have that dialogue happening, but you don't need to kill the man or turn him every freaking early on in the issues. You know what I mean? But I don't know. That's my thoughts on it. I'm interested to see where this goes, but, they kind of pulled a Murphy here and killed everybody. And I'm just like, all right. Because I don't know. Are you going to care if the rest of the story has like John Constantine as the main or Swamp Thing? Like,
well, the only problem with that is that we got that in Deceased.
Exactly.
Like, I don't want the same characters just with a different scenario.
Yeah.
Like, the reason why these Elseworld stories are good is they were different to a point. With Deceased, like you said, there was the kids of the Trinity and all of that. Here, we had all of the Bat family, and that's something we haven't had in a very long time. And that was something that we have praised Rosenberg for. And now they're all dead, and we're like, well, fuck, what do we do now?
Yeah. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see where this goes. I would bet money that Batman's not dead, but even me being the biggest Batman fan, I'd be like, bro, I mean, he put a hole in his chest. Like, how are you going to play that off? Like, do they have Lazarus water like on the submarine, or what are they going to do here? You know what I mean?
Just put a Band-Aid on it.
Yeah, he's good. It didn't go through it completely, Or they're gonna some bullshit like he just missed the heart, right? Because he's not holding the heart; it's just an arm through it. But still, like, come on,
dude. He punctures the chest so hard and so forcefully, the bat symbol on his chest pops off. I noticed that.
Oh man, so it'll be interesting to see what happens here. But we can only wait and see. But that is it for reviews, ladies and gentlemen. Clay, what do you got going on this week, man?
So this week, I do have an episode of Star Wars Alliance that has come out. If you want to go check that out, we are talking about post the Rise of Skywalker. Like, in what direction should they go? Should they, bring back John Boyega? Should they bring back Oscar Isaac or Daisy Ridley? Should they go Disney Plus or stay theatrical? That whole conversation comes up on DC Alliance. We're going to be talking about, of course, the Ezra Miller stuff, and of course, Infinite Crisis. So more opinions on that for sure. And then I actually helped produce a episode called A Slice of Film, and they talk all about the Oscars. So if you want to support some of the work that I am doing audio-wise, go check that out as well. That's coming out on Sunday. So go check that out.
Noise. You definitely check out my YouTube channel. I've been doing a lot of interesting stuff over there. It's a little spicy. YouTube hates me now, so I don't really get any ads over there, so all support would be great. Well, at least on this last video, I've edited it twice, and they still hate it. So I'm just like, what the fuck? And the thing about YouTube is they never tell you the problem. They just put you in a category. They're just like, something in this category happened. And I'm like, well, can you tell me where? And they don't tell you, which fucking sucks. But anyways, so there's that. Definitely go check out, just come to the live streams. Come hang out on live streams if you want to talk about some more stuff, or join the Discord. But that is going to be it on this episode where we said we had nothing to talk about. It is one of our longer podcasts, which is insane. But, it had a lot of rants that, spread it out of the conversations we had. But that's what we do here on the Batman News Weekly podcast. But as always, ladies and gentlemen, he is Fanboy Clay. I am Juice Wayne. And remember, Batman is awesome.